Stop doing that. Doc, stop it.
Author Brian Melvin, who wrote the book Help. Well, good evening, everyone. Here we are today. We are going to be speaking with the author, Christian author Brian Melvin, who wrote the book Hell's Dominion, A Land Unknown. So we're here today to talk about the situation that's ongoing, very important situation that's ongoing in Israel. Hi, Brian. Welcome.
How you doing, Dave? It's pretty cold
Hey, Diane.
here in the Colorado. We just had a little snowstorm.
Good to see you. I was going to do a David Icke video. I started playing it, and he said he's been banned from YouTube, so I wasn't game to play it. So I had to reboot and do this.
Through, how's it in the UK?
Yeah, the temperature's dropping, certainly, and most of us can't afford to put the heating on, so
Yeah,
that's the problem.
it sure
But
is.
yeah, yeah, it's as I say, you know, what's going on in the Middle East is quite significant and potentially biblically significant, if indeed we are at that time in prophecy, and that's something I want to speak to you about a little bit later in this conversation, to really focus on the biblical side of what we see. But firstly, I want to mention there's a lot of sensitivity, understandably, about what's going on in Israel and Gaza. And with this whole situation of a war breaking out, potentially escalating in time, we don't know for sure what's going to happen, but even now the situation is quite intense. And just to say that no one likes war. You know, war is hellish, as they say, and many people die and suffer. Even innocent people can be affected by war, even if it's a war of defense and civilians are not targeted, there's still going to be knock-on effects. It was the same in Nazi Germany when the Allies attacked Germany. There were civilians that were caught up in that, sadly. But Brian, the first thing I want to ask you, are there times when war is necessary? Because people say, well, Jesus said, turn the other cheek, which is true.
Good question.
There's also examples in the Bible of war. And also, I would say it's very easy for us to sit here and talk about it and criticize war when we are doing so on the back of the sacrifice of our ancestors in World War II.
Yes, that's a good question. I get some of the same responses because people say we're supposed to obey the government and all things too, but and all that, and then we're supposed to turn the other cheek. But Jesus, at the end of the book of Luke, says, "I told you, go out, unarmed. Now I'm telling you to buy a sword." And in Israel, ancient Israel, during a time of war, you had a standing army. You had to have an army, and so eligible people, unmarried males, were mandatory to defend Israel. And the reason why that is found in a lot of scriptures.
Welcome back,
one
boss.
that really stands out that I remember the most is Isaiah chapter 1, verse 17. It says, "Learn to do good, seek justice, rebuke the oppressor, defend the fatherless, plead for the widow." So when you have genocidal maniacs out there, they are oppressing you, or maybe go to war against the oppressors who are threatening the fatherless, the widows, the orphans. We are required to defend our families and our household against oppressors. You really are. And they had, in ancient days, they had the same people that are seen in Psalms 83, the Moabites, the Edom, Ammon, Assyria. You had the Babylonian Empire. You had over in the Philistines, constantly very vile, wicked people, always attacking Israel, taking hostages, doing the same things they are doing even today. And King David had to set things right and defend. You have to defend and fight against the oppressor. And no one likes war. We'd rather having peace, but we live in a fallen, wicked world. And during World War II.
Okay, guys, it's only 23 hours old, so it's updated on the war.
My dad was called up into service. He fought in the Navy. He went for German submarines and flew in the back of one of those dive bombers and torpedo bombers and dropped depth charges on submarines and stuff. And he never really talked about it, but other relatives fought in the war. They fought in the Pacific. I had an uncle, a great uncle that was in the Bataan Death March. And so I grew up around a lot of veterans, and I understood that none of them liked war. They hated it. But they also said that we're going to defend because they know what evil is. They learned what evil really is. And so when you're confronted with pure evil that wants to wipe you out and oppress you and take your life, you have to defend the fatherless, the widows, the weak, the elderly. You're required to. And yeah, we do spiritual warfare on top of that, but there comes a time when, like the Bible says in Ecclesiastes, it's right there: a time for war and a time for peace, time to throw stones and time not to throw stones. And there's a time for every season and purpose under heaven. And we live in a fallen world with people who want to oppress, maim, mutilate, fly their ultralights down, and like they did in Israel, and massacre a bunch of people at a peace concert in Israel, butcher people, all the stuff that they did in Gaza, along the Gaza border, at the kibbutzes and every place else, and then on the northern border, which you don't hear too much about, same thing. You got to have the right to defend yourself against genocidal maniacs who want to kill you, who want to oppress you, and impose their will upon you, and oppress you into their service, make slaves out of you, whatever it is. You have to fight. You have to have an army. You have to fight. You just don't, what Jesus says, we're to be peacemakers. Yeah, but there comes a time when there is no more peace, because these people have no mind for peace. They are deceivers. They're liars. They're agents of Satan, basically. They will commit genocide against you. They want you dead. We are facing, even in our own country here in the United States, as well as you over there and around the world. We have, even in the realms of our own governing influences in our own spheres, people are so divided that you have one side that literally wants to silence you and cancel you. And it's like we're supposed to just take it and not talk about it and just comply. Or, your rights, liberties, and freedoms, are being stripped from you. And I feel great sadness for the people of Canada. Their Canadian charters being violated. And it's like, our bill, and here the Bill of Rights is being violated. And so you got people who want to take over everything and dominate everything, and people got to understand there comes a time. The framers of our Constitution understood that. They understood that's why we have a Second Amendment, to hold the governing authorities in check so they don't get out of line and become tyrannical. And so compound that reality with a world like you have China, seeking world domination. This stuff doesn't have to be if we maintain a strong military, have a strong backbone, and have clear morality of right and wrong based upon the scriptures like we're used to, and make a stand against evil like they did during World War II, as well as Korea. There was lines drawn.
Hey, Talia, good to see ya.
And tyranny was tyranny, and when they was all said and done, the lid was off, the curtains pulled back, and they saw what the atrocities of the Axis powers and what they committed.
Right. So, you'd say that there is a time when there is such a thing as a just war.
Diane, hi, avast. That was a typo. I was too lazy to fix it.
And potentially not defending the weak, not defending the widows would be cowardly and weak. And of course, the Bible does predict that in the last days there will be wars and rumors of wars. But people seem to forget that there are still 230-something hostages, estimated 20 of them children and babies, that are being held captive by terrorists in the Gaza Strip. And one thing I would ask people is, what would you do if they were your family members? Would you be happy to just say, oh, don't worry, we'll just forget that and move on?
I don't think there's a way you could forget if it's one of your own kin. But in fact, since there are Americans over there, and there's probably Europeans as well, and UK people, well, many Israelis, they would be our kin in a way, our countrymen. Yet, you're dealing with genocidal maniacs. And what did they do to the hostages already, especially the women and the older lady? I don't.
That's a good description. Genocidal maniacs. That's exactly what they are.
Think about it. And some of it's been recorded on these videos, and they're held hostage. But when you have a group of people who are hiding out in bunkers and stuff under hospitals and mosques and kindergarten schools and stuff like that, they don't care one iota about life. They're like the devil. They're just playing mind games with you, and that's what people and families really have to think about. We'll do everything possible to get them back, but enough's enough. Israel didn't start this. These people started it. And they'll say different, but they actually are the ones started it. If they would just live in peace and get along with people, you wouldn't have this problem. But no, they are genocide. They want genocide of an entire race of people.
Yep.
We have people in our own countries, both of us, who want the same thing all over again. And I grew up with a lot of World War II veterans who fought in both sides of the war, Europe and people in the Western theater there, and they got to the concentration camps, saw what's in them, and changed their tune. I grew up in a time when it was never anymore, no more of this stuff, no more genocide. We tried their best to stop the genocide that was going on in Africa a while back, with the Tutsis, I think it was. And, we can't have this thing. No matter what race of people it is or what, we can't have genocidal maniacs and systems of government and religions that are hell-bent to carry out this task. If they take hostages I'm giving you my opinion now, they take hostages, you're gonna keep repeating the same thing. And they're going to keep playing on your sensitivity that you're a good person. This is what people don't understand about evil. Evil always pits a person's good morals and good sense against each other.
Yeah.
Oh, you're for peace and you're for the sanctity.
Vas, wasn't there 6 or 12 bio labs in the Ukraine? I think it might be 6. And that's one of the reasons Russia went in. You're correct.
Sanctity of life. So if you really are kind and gentle and loving, you would spare your hostages that we took, we're threatening to kill, to prove that so you got to leave us alone and let us keep killing you. Now, what are you going to do? That's something that every person really intellectually needs to think about. And, we'll do everything they can to get the hostages back. I think they got one back already. Israel captured, went in somewhere and was able to liberate one person yesterday, I think it was.
Yeah.
I think it was a soldier. And so to do what you can to get out, but also you don't stop the war. And if they hurt those hostages, you got it. Game on. You have to be that ruthless. You have to be ruthless with these ruthless killers. And I know people will think that's awful, but you got no choice. You warn people like Israel did to get out. Hamas is keeping them in. They send them off into a safe area. They're trying not to bomb, but they're firing missiles from them. You're dealing with nut jobs, insane people that are just
Israel. They're dropping the leaflets over the Gaza Strip to warn people to get out of the way. But then, as you say, you're dealing with a very manipulative ideology in which, like we've talked about even narcissism before, where people will gaslight, they will manipulate, they will lie, they will use your own morals against you. And I think that there is an element of that obviously going on, in which, you can't negotiate with this. It's impossible. I'm not saying Israel is 100% perfect on everything. You know, that the land is governed by people who are fallen too. You know, it's not the millennial reign.
Yes.
But Israel are making attempts to try and avoid that from what we see. And people need to understand, would you say that, is it supportive of the Palestinians, of the people group, is it supportive of them to support Hamas? Because people seem to equate them together, and yet, you know, these people are used as cannon fodder and human shields, and they're under a terrible governance, which is causing them abject poverty and not providing them with a decent society where they can thrive and a democratic place to live.
Yeah, so you basically would have to go to war against their government and make sure they'll never be there again. You have to get rid of that. You also have to walk the fine line and avoid as many innocent civilians as possible being killed, but knowing there's going to be some anyway. There's no round about it, because that's how these people work. They use them as cannon fodder. And some people that I've heard that are coming out of there don't like these people. And then you got whole groups of they're raised in it, and they agree with them. I don't know if it's about 50-50 or something like that. I don't know that's the last I heard on that. They were about split 50-50 on it in East Gaza. But the 50% or less or more or whatever don't want these people, need to have a chance to be free and learn how to live anew and not put up with these people. Because, you know, these people will kill their own people who don't agree with them. And Iran doesn't have a problem killing its own people who disagree with their government there. Syria doesn't. Hezbollah doesn't. And so they demand total submission. And so I think there's some way you got to make a distinction, if it's possible, that the people need to, after this is done, just put the hate down, learn to live with each other, you know. And I think a lot of people are really, really ready for that. I really do. Which sets a scene for the other parts of Bible prophecy that hasn't come to pass yet. I'm looking for this world leader who probably will do that, but
like the false peace. Yeah. So we'll go on to that soon in a minute, and definitely worth talking about, and also the Psalm 83 war and all of these prophecies that potentially are coming soon. But yeah, it is just I think it's a very intellectually dishonest to make a moral equivacy between purposeful, rapacious, savage barbarism, purposely targeting civilians and raping civilians and beheading them, to an attempt to hit, to defend and come and hit back and destroy the terrorist organization, and making steps to avoid civilian casualties. I think when people say that is a completely two-sided thing.
Talia, I think we're just about to hit tribulation. Tribulation's a month or two away. We're very close.
Which we do see a lot now, and the narrative is changing very much in the media as well. That now most of the focus is just on this situation in Gaza, which is tragic in many respects for the civilians that but obviously it's the fault of Hamas. But we can gradually see the narrative shifting, that October the 7th and the hostages are not being mentioned, and all the onus is on Israel's response.
That's how evil works. I mean, that's how the devil works. It's gaslighting, and no other way to put it. I mean, they are experts at it. They'll play your morality and your values against each other to prove that you're not all that. You can't measure up. Same thing that the devil does to God is what they do to you and us. They'll pit your own morality, your own ways, because we all are flawed, and they'll play on that. And But with evil, you got to put your foot down. You just can't let evil continue to run amok. And there's a price to pay, and it's sad. I thank the Lord that He's the one in the end who's going to right all the wrongs. And that we see that in Daniel chapter 7, I believe it is, when everybody stands before the judgment seat or the judgment there, and all the courts of heaven are in progress, and multitudes of angels, myriads of angels. They're going to judge the Antichrist and all these evil people. Anybody, will be able then to set things right. But right now, it's almost, in a way, it is an objective lesson in life to really know evil. And, you go back to the Garden of Eden. Now you'll be like God, knowing good and evil. Oh boy, that was something we should never have touched, because now we will experience what evil is, and then we have to learn to hate evil so much after we recognize what it is, and you get born again, you get saved, you get sealed with the Holy Spirit, so that has no effect on you again, and you will totally rejected it, and it will never happen again at an appointed time. And I don't know how God all works all that out and brings it all to pass to that point. The Bible talks about it in prophecy and stuff, but that's where we are. We're learning what evil is really like and how to deal with it. And when you look at ourselves, you look at the same dilemmas that God faces in a way. He's good, he's just, he's merciful, but he's loving and he's kind, but also he doesn't like it, but I know he doesn't, but he has to enact vengeance. At the same time, he offers an olive branch even to his enemies. He did it to me, he did it to you. He said, you're my enemy, now you're my friend. You came in and you trust me in what I did for you on the cross. You're born again by what Jesus did alone on the cross. We're saved by grace through faith in Christ alone, which shows that we actually trust God, that He can get us through this mess, get us to the other side, and so that we will no longer do evil at a appointed time, will no longer carry it out at an appointed time when there's new heavens and earth and all that. We've learned an objective lesson that is beyond our mental capacities really fully grasped right now, but we'll never, ever, ever do evil because we're sealed with the Holy Spirit, because we'll have a memory of what evil is and how it operates. And my wife and I are sick of it. They're saying, Lord, please come back quick. It's almost beyond what your human brain can comprehend, because we got evil here in the United States. We got evil everywhere. It's just
right. And of course, we know that Jesus will return to judge the world, to judge evil, and He will return as a man of war. And defeat the Antichrist. But what do you think about, we're speaking about this evil spreading across the world, and we see anti-Semitism definitely on the rise, and radicalism being celebrated. I mean, a lot of these protests across Europe, across America, there's many people in those that are not secretly but openly celebrating radicalism and anti-Semitism, drawing swastikas on walls and smashing up Jewish shops. And what do you think about that, and how it may relate to Jacob's trouble? And
well, some have been prophesied to happen, and then I did some investigating on this whole thing. But again, it goes back to the philosophies, of Karl Marx, and fascism, and what they call it's a new term, but it's what socialism actually leads to. It's called totalitarian democracy. It's a new term they use, and those were viewed as the most efficient forms of government, because the government will work through an elite they scratch each other's back, and so you have basically a corporate monopolies running everything, and you have basically one ruling class and a serf class, and as long as you're kept in your place, there'll be peace. And so you're fighting against this system that hates the Judaic Christian principles of what the Bible teaches. And all these people, I always say this, Dave, the first casualty that, they say is truth. It's actually he who shouts the loudest. It's the most evil people shout the loudest. Yes, that's how it is. The most evil people shout the loudest to hide the truth. And so they yell and scream and stuff. But you got to realize that when I look at what's going on in the world, you see this shout against Christianity. They said Christianity is the oppressor. Oh, wait a minute, I've been a Christian for a long time. Yeah, we have some nut jobs in Christianity too, but they're few and far between. But nobody really knows what the Bible actually teaches. It says in Isaiah chapter 1 there, it says, come, let us reason together. Now, God is for reason. He reasons with you. And if you think God is oppressor, then Christianity is oppressor, then who's oppressing you? So when you look in there, we're in this dichotomy, this struggle between two different sets of government entities. One wants your liberty, freedom in Christ, wants you to be, live and let live type of thing under the bounds of God, under it being, governed by the Holy Spirit, to reflect his character traits of love, joy, peace. You don't rob, steal, don't do these things. Then you got the other side that says, let's get rid of that. That doesn't work. That's bad. That's materialism. It has to go. You're evil. We have to silence you. We have to have this collective harmony where you're under strict top-down, bottom-up control, put it in a tight little box. You own nothing. You're going to be happy. Meat is a tasty treat. Everything will be delivered to you. You live in your metaverse world with your little goggles, and it just sounds like a dystopian hell that they want you to put you in. So that's the choices what we have, and that's what I see, Dave, is these two philosophies. We see it in Marxism, we see it in Christianity, and so what I see in our countries right now is the progressive left. They have this idea of pure communism. It's the greatest thing. We have to get rid of the stuff.
Hey, Shawnee, good to see you.
A beautiful world. We're going to have a beautiful utopia if you just do what we say, because these malignant, narcissists, psychopaths, sociopaths, and regular narcissists that want to control everything know how to live your life. You just listen to them, everything will be well. And
yeah, Shawnee, I was playing some David Hick. I was going to do him, but he said he's been taken down off YouTube, so I wasn't going to play his video. So I had to reboot and delete it.
No, they want your destruction, but they sell it in a nice way. And so you got two ideas, Floyd. You have literally the Bible prophecy coming back to life here, right in front of us. It's a war between good and evil. In the end times, that's what Jesus says. You're going to be seeing wars and rumors of war and all these things, and you're going to see great deception. You're going to see how evil deceives people. And we're seeing it with these two conflicting things. And that totalitarian mindset seen in the ancient pagan world, the kings are like Nebuchadnezzar, want to control the world, dominate the world. You see it in every government in the past. You see them selling out. Jesus was tempted with the same thing when the devil offered him all the kingdoms of this world. He would worship the devil. He wouldn't do it. So this is an ongoing battle. It wants to destroy all that's decent and good, that's of God. It goes back to ancient Gnosticism, as you well know. They want to destroy this demiurge God, who they call the Christian Judaic God, and free mankind to become pure spirit being. That's in a nutshell. There's a lot more variables to that.
Yeah.
They want you to be a pure spirit being, but in other words, you be a pure spirit being standing before the white throne judgment. They're not telling you the whole story.
Right, and you mentioned the attack on Judeo-Christian principles as part of that. I mean, so would you see a link between the two? Because I know that in some extremist radical forms of Islam, there is a saying of first the Saturday people and then the Sunday people. So the Jews and the Christians. And what I see in some extreme branches of the truth movement, they are very, very much anti-Semitic. I mean, they will deny they are, but they're posting pictures of Hitler. They're posting violent imagery against the Jews. They are anti-Semitic. But what would you see a link between the two? Because it brings me to what we mentioned before about the passage in Revelation 12, about how, I don't know if you want to read that, but it's about the dragon going, the woman being a picture of Israel, giving birth to the child that Israel brought forth the Messiah, and then the dragon, which is Satan, wants to devour.
Man, that's a crazy looking dragon. Check that out.
So if you want to read that, and maybe we can talk about how it is basically Satanism to be anti-Semitic.
It is. That's what we're facing. We're actually facing Satanism. This is what it's about, the Satan's not going to come out and say, "Oh, you're going to come out sounding like he's the good guy." He's the Abraxas. He's the all enlightening light. He's going all goodness and stuff, but he's not going to tell you, what he's really after: total control and your destruction. And so in Revelations 12, it says, verse 1 says, "Now a great sign appeared in heaven, a woman clothed in the sun and the moon under her feet, on her head a garland of 12 stars. And being with child, she cried out in labor and in pain and gave birth." Then it talks about the red dragon coming. He was thrown to earth during some war in heaven, and he was thrown out of heaven. And you come down to the verse 13. "When the dragon saw that he had been cast to the earth, he persecuted the woman who gave birth to the male child. But the woman was given 2 wings of a great eagle, that she might fly into the wilderness to her place, and there nourish for a times, a half a time, from the presence of the serpent. So the serpent spewed water out of his mouth like a flood after the woman, that he might cause her to be carried away in the flood. And the earth helped the woman, and the earth opened its mouth and swallowed up the flood which the dragon spewed out of his mouth. And the dragon was enraged with the woman, and he went to make war with the rest of her offspring who keep the commandments of God and have the testimony of Jesus Christ." So you go through it, it sounds like near the last verse, he's coming after Christians too. So you're going to have ideologies who they're going to call Saturday people and Sunday people. You're going to have the same thing. I don't understand about verses 13 to 16. I grew up in a time where we thought that this referred prophetically to how Israel was scattered the nations, and when they got regathered back, which happened in 1948, a second time, like Isaiah talks about, exactly what he talked about, that the earth was going to help and swallow and stop this flood. It would stop it in World War II from the extermination. Israel became a nation, and again, I think verse 17 is more in play now than the other verses. So you have these verses where he went to make war with the rest of the offspring. That's Jews and Christian, Western values, tradition, and you see that if you look at it, if we can just set aside our linear Western way of thinking, so to speak, and just lay it aside and look at why Marxism. Who is Marx? And evidence shows that he understood Satanism. He was probably involved in it. And you look at these ideologies, these totalitarian ideologies, they all come from the Luciferian side of things. Total top-down control, getting rid of the entire races of people who don't agree with you, or just basically get rid of the Jews and Christians. Hitler was trying to get rid of the Christians. and Stalin was hoping to kill Jews and Christians that didn't comply to his idea, and people had to hide in fear. And so you need to understand.
Shawnee, I'm pretty sure the Illuminati were behind Karl Marx. Pretty sure they were behind the idea.
You have 2 competing ideologies. One wants to crush the life out of you. One wants to censor what you can say, how you're to view your world, what you can control, what you buy, sell, or eat. We're so close to that coming to pass right now with this AI stuff. And the mark could be, almost any day now, if you want to know the truth, because all this stuff is developing so fast. Whereas before, we never had an AI system able to track and monitor what people buy or sell, what you can think. You have sort of getting surveillance devices in people's homes, like, these talking boxes, whatever they are, the Amazon box or whatever this, and they can hear everything you say. You have smart TVs and you have all this stuff. So you have this data going somewhere.
No.
And so you want to be in a system sooner rather than later, where they'll track, monitor everything you buy, sell, eat, what you say, what you think, your social credit scores, like China. And so you have coming in play a system that's usually totalitarianism or authoritarianism in some fashion. And most fashionable today is communism. And the Marxists and fascists, a kinder, gentler fascist of Klaus Schwab.
Yeah, it does seem like there's different shades of totalitarianism, and actually in these same branches of the so-called truth movement, they tend to be drawn to countries like Russia. I've noticed that they think that they are the freedom fighters, they are the good guys, because they don't adopt wokeism and that side of totalitarianism.
Yeah, Shawnee, the secret's only to us. We don't get to see the secret, but if you got a lot of money and a lot of connections, you know what the secret is.
But they think, well, Russia, their shade of totalitarianism.
Well, their secret, our secret's Christ.
And I've noticed this pattern. So it's just, as you say, it's a war between ideologies, and
good versus evil.
Yeah, and it's the same as we were saying in that passage in Revelation 12. We can see that the dragon, the devil, is against the church, he's against Jesus Christ, and he's against Israel. And a lot of these people are siding against Israel, but they don't realize they're actually siding with Iranian-backed proxies who are dictators themselves and want a caliphate and this, that, and the other.
Yeah, and they will kill them. The same people, if they only really knew what they offer, suppression of women, suppression of your rights, and if you don't, go to their, people, Christianity just wants you to go to church every Sunday. You can't have that. Well, these people want you to go to their place of worship 3 times or 4 times a day, whatever it is. All you hear is their shout. Our God is greater. That Allah Akbar really means our God is greater than your God, what it's saying. And so and you don't want to live under that system. And neither does the WEF, the WEFers don't. The New World Order types do not want to live under that system either. And I found prophecy. I just did a teaching on that. And in Jeremiah chapter 49, it specifically says that they're going to come against them. They're going to come against these people because it's 2 competing ideologies of evil. They have to get rid of the one that's the most bloody because they want to control everything. It literally does say that in there. I mean, it doesn't spell out their names, but what we're seeing is happening in those verses, as well as Psalms 83 and other places too. It almost blows my mind, Dave, when I look at the scriptures, and I just learned how to study the way I studied from other folks, like Chuck Missler and stuff. But one of the lessons I learned about Bible prophecy: take the meaning of names, find out what they mean, do an etymology study, and apply contextually the name of the meaning in the text with the people and their character traits, and it will actually spell out things. And that's what I found in Psalm 83.
Yeah, and this is something I wanted to talk to you about in this discussion of how you are seeing the current events. I just want to say that it's not just a political situation. There is a religious drive behind some of these extremist groups and Iranian proxies and this, that, and the other. There is a religious element. It's not just political. It's not just like we want this area.
It's completely the religious element. It's not the political element. I don't think this guy's really getting it.
Of land is actually no. We want to rule the world. We want to destroy anyone who doesn't agree with our religion. So can you kind of take us through Psalm 83 and your views on how this situation in Gaza is potentially in the Bible?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and do that for you. Psalms 83. Listen, I put the name meanings in here for you, and listen to what it says. They have said, come, let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel, the prevailers with God, Israel means prevailers with God, those who prevail, may be remembered no more. This is genocide. They have a confederacy formed to commit genocide. We saw it unleashed on October 7th. We know exactly what they want to do. They're looking for every excuse. They're well funded by Iran, basically giving these people money.
It's
So yeah,
true.
there's conspiracy, a confederacy. They want to cut off Israel from being a nation. And so this is the thing where the devil says, if he can get rid of the Jewish people and the Christians and cause God to violate any promise, oath, anything he said, then God can't be God, and thus he can exalt his throne over God. That's what this is about. People don't understand. They throw out the spiritual component. They don't realize we're fighting a spiritual warfare, and this is about the devil establishing his throne above God so he can rule God now. Now he can put God on the leash and rule him, and by pitting God's own character traits against each other to get God to go contrary. Well, he's going to lose because that's impossible to do. And the devil doesn't know that, but he's crazy anyway, but he's going to try. And so if he can wipe out Israel, wipe out the church, and have God maybe do it for him or whatever, like he tried with Israel to get God to wipe out Israel so that proves that he can't keep his promises. God always kept his promises, brought the people back into the land. And they're the covenant people of God. And so they have these people, the same people under this influence with the same ideology, says, come, let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel, those who prevail with God, may be remembered no more. Well, Israel, the only way you can really prevail with God, besides wrestling with him like Jacob had to do.
Diane, I wonder what was in them red shopping carts. There's something going on there. I wonder what's going on there.
Is, you wrestle with God, then you know that only he is your savior. You can't save your own works. Can't save you. You have to just trust in what he did for us through the cross. That's how you prevail with God. So Israel will have to learn this too at an appointed time. And so, Christians, we learn it. So we are now in this confederacy that these people want to eliminate. They can get rid of us, like it says in Revelation chapter 12 there. And he goes against the offspring, the church, Christians, the Sunday people and the Saturday people. They somehow can prove that God can't keep his promises, and basically the devil wins. And so these very same people are basically dupes, being duped into an ideology where the devil wants to get rid of them too. And so they don't see this. And so that's what we're seeing. We're seeing this confederacy that wants to wipe out Israel and the church forming. And you have the ideology. You can look at overview. You see the Marxism, the communism, that stuff that's flowing around, and the fascism, the real fascism, and the totalitarian democracy that they want to rule the world by. It's all the same thing. That's what it leads to.
It goes right back to Revelation 12.
Yeah, it goes right back there. And then you go to verse 5 of Isaiah, Psalms 83, verse 5. For they have consulted together with one consent, and they form a confederacy against you, the tents of Edom, the Ishmaelites, Moab, and the Hagarites. Okay? Now you got to decipher what these names mean. And so this is what they mean. They form a confederacy against you, the tents of Edom. That means red like blood. That's the color of red they're talking about. It's a ruddy red blood color. So the tents of Edom, if you look up the character traits of these people, they were the bloody red ones.
Yeah, actually listen to it, Di, because I was interested. I wonder what's in them shopping carts, though. They've already rang the coppers, and that's when it stopped.
And the Ishmaelites, those who, that literally means those who hear their God. That's what it means. I mean, those would be your Arabs from the offspring of Ishmael. Those who hear their God, and Moab means of his father. To hear the God of Moab, his father. Now, who's the God of Moab? That was Moloch or Milcom, which, as a matter of fact, Jeremiah chapter 49 talks about in conjunction.
Right.
Correlation with the.
Well, that could be right, boss. The blanket theory.
These verses here. and of the Hagarites who fled. So you read it like this, verse 5 and 6. For they have consulted together one consent. They form a confederacy against you, the tents of the bloody red ones, those who hear their God of his father, and those
Would level New York though, wouldn't it, Vast?
who fled where? To Jabal. Jabal means the mountains of Lebanon. Okay, that's where they are. Jabal, the mountains of Lebanon.
Oh, Jabal's the mountains of Lebanon. I never knew that.
Hezbollah is. Who are they? In Jabal, Ammon, the sons of renown, warriors, mighty warriors, tall as a mountain. That's what that means. Ammon means where the tall ones are. The Nephilim came from. You know, these are warriors of renown in the mountains of Lebanon. And Amalek, who dwell in the valley, but one of the meanings of Amalek is they dwell in they're valley dwellers who like to lick blood. And Amalek dwell in the valley who lick blood, and Philistia, the land of immigrants, that's Gaza Strip.
Right.
And the inhabitants of Tyre, Tyre means a rock, a jagged rock actually, but you go to Ezekiel chapter 28 there, and you find out the king of Tyre was the king of pride. Okay, proud. That's the devil in his rebellion. It's the rock of pride. That's what the etymology in the biblical sense.
And Tyre is in Lebanon, isn't it?
Yeah, it's in Lebanon. And Assyria, that means the Assyrian Empire. I mean, Assyria is basically the area of Syria, Iraq, parts of Turkey. And so Assyria there, the old Assyrian Empire, which means those who lie in wait, ambushers, are the assassins. Nice people, nice name. Who has joined with them, and they have helped the children of Lot. And the children of Lot are Ammon and Moab. And that's
in Jordan, isn't it?
In the Jordan area. And so you have people who fled to the mountains, the Hezbollah, the sons of renown. Amalek, you have those who like to dwell in the valley and lick blood. And where are they at? The land of the Philistines, of the immigrants. Where they all went. Their refugee camps are there. And the inhabitants of Tyre, the rock of pride, you have the devil involved indirectly in this. And the Syria, those who lie in wait, ambushers, has joined with them, and they have helped the children of Lot. And Lot, you got to understand the story of Lot. Lot daughters had their way with Lot. They got him drunk and intoxicated him, so he wouldn't know what's going on. So you apply that into this definition. Those who intoxicate in order to hide a deed. So you have the children of Lot, who are like a propaganda arm of some type, who are just going to be pro-enemy. And the good people, innocent people, are going to be demonized, and they're going to make out themselves as the good guys. And so you have massive protest right now in your country and mine about pro-Palestinian stuff, all this stuff going on now. You have all these players in action right now in the same geographic locations being enacted right now.
Interesting. Yeah. So how do you see? Do you think that Psalm 83 is possible to be fulfilled in times to come soon, or I suppose if it escalates beyond Gaza?
Wow.
I do think it will be. I think this probably most likely.
Wow, Diane, that's stunning.
Is anything can change, anything can happen. I gotta get that disclaimer. But considering how close we are looking at the sign, Jesus wants us to look at the sign. No one knows the day or the hour of Jesus and one of his days at his return.
Yeah, Diane, so them shopping carts, they got to mean something. We know that. I wonder what it is, though, because they done the pallet of bricks. We all remember that.
And in the Greek, the word day is plural, days of his return. There's one going to be a rapture, and the other is the millennial, when he sets up the millennial kingdom in Israel, in days. So we have to look at the signs and the seasons and judge it ourselves, because it says, Proverbs and talks about, understanding the riddles of the wise, and understanding an enigma. So that's what prophecy is. You got to look at it, also judge it with what's going on factually in the world. Don't try to add anything to it. Look at specific things. Look at a confederacy to form, which we have, an axis of evil forming in the Middle East against the Jewish people, against people who want to commit genocide, coalescing and ready to carry it out. We have that right now. We also, on top of that, we have the other group of people want to dominate, take over the world, setting up a system where you can't buy, sell, or eat unless you have a mark. It was an AI system set up. You have a move for a one world liberal-based order, whatever they call it, a rules-based order. And with the West and the East, the America and Western Europe combined. This again goes back to ancient theosophy of H.P. Blavatsky. He said the same exact thing with camouflage language about root race. Her root race theory was not about races, it was about the development of the human race, and how to initiate.
Okay, it's glaring, guys. I've got to try and fix the glare.
For spiritual being, you're going to be in the seventh root race. So the transition between the fifth root race, which was where we lived in, or living in, into the sixth root race, who will be marked in her word, not mine, the destruction of America and Western Europe in order to set up a new civilization to guide the world into the sixth root race, into the race of perfection. How? By trickery, deception, and taking over the world. I mean, she said it, not me. I'm just paraphrasing. I had to take too long to explain all that. But so you have this stuff all coalescing. You have a satanic fingerprint all over this stuff. And you have that. You have an evil swarm, I call it.
So it is interesting. You mentioned how many different things are coming together at once in Bible prophecy. Like we've got that, different.
The Star of David, Diane. Wow. Things are really, really, wow.
Sides of it all converging together. And of course, we know that from the Bible that, we believe from Bible prophecy that Israel will go through some difficult times as well. How do you see this all coming together? Like if we are on the verge of some of these wars that were prophesied coming into the Israel area, how do you think this relates to the Antichrist, his emergence, the temple, the false peace deal, and all of those things?
Well, to be honest, I can only speculate. I can't say with any guarantee that I'm correct. I'm just looking at the scripture and trying to piece pieces together. We're very close. I think if I understand what other people have taught on about Psalms 83 war and some other things here, and I'll share with them those in just a second here, is that this sets the stage for the Antichrist to come as a peacemaker, and this could possibly result, it could even result in the Gog-Magog war. I don't know if that is true or not. I'm just saying it could. But it'll become a time when people get rid of the oppressor, the true, this vile genocidal evil, and as a sign and people wanting peace, somebody will come up and say, okay, let's, as a sign of solidarity between religions, let's build the temple on the Temple Mount. That is very feasible and very possible because you have people, and it's prophesied in some of these scriptures I'm talking about in Jeremiah 49, Isaiah 11, Zephaniah chapter 2. They all fit because the people are actually tired of this stuff, and they'll gladly, we finally have peace. So you would most likely see a peacemaker of some type stepping in, whoever that is. I have no idea. It could also, in my opinion, this is my opinion only, this is setting the stage for that to happen. The best I can discern from the scripture.
Right, and do you see Ezekiel 38 with the war where Russia comes and gets involved and that confederacy? Do you see that happening after the false peace deal?
That's how I always learned that it would happen, but I'm not saying that that's the only thing that will happen. We don't really know when it will happen.
Okay.
But we have to be open to look at the signs of the time. It may be up in the future event because there's still some things up there that have to occur so Russia could come in. Military bases, we have to get kicked out of Turkey, which we probably will, and Russia will take over air base there. So those are indication of signs that you need to look at for something like that. So Russia would literally need a staging area, probably in Turkey or somewhere. They can set up shop for that to happen. just militarily speaking, logically. But I don't know. I mean, if anything's open in this, because nobody really knows. People say they do, and they usually are wrong. You just have to look at the sign of the times, like
yeah, and just for the audience's sake, when we're talking about these things, and these are interpretations that Brian is talking about. We're not saying that anything is 100% definite in the future, timing wise. We don't fully know, but we do know that these things will happen at some stage and in some order, because the Bible says they will.
Yeah.
But it is interesting, Brian, that you can actually see these nations listed in that confederacy of like Ezekiel 38. They're starting to kind of warm up together. They're becoming very politically aligned.
Yes, we're seeing all that right now. It's one of the things we need to look at. Look how they're aligning. China, the kings of the East are lining up. Everything is lining up. And this is beyond coincidental. And so we have to watch and pray to become worthy to escape these things. We have to watch. We have to look at them. We can't ignore them. We can't be in total fear of it either, because we know that in the end, the Lord wins. We win too with the Lord. So however it works out, God will get us through. Our focus needs to be on Jesus, and not be so, let not your hearts be troubled. It's like Jesus said, he's prepared a place for us, and it's troubling, it's concerning, you can get depressed over it, you can feel like, what's the use? I mean, a lot of things people come to me, they feel great trepidation, but our focus needs to be on Jesus Christ coming. And I can show you lots of scriptures.
I think they both scare me, the Star of David and the swastika.
There's two that help people understand what is going to happen and things like that. It says here in Isaiah 11:11, it shall come to pass on that day the Lord will set his hand again the second time to recover the remnant of his people who are left from Assyria, Egypt, Pathros, Cush, Elam, Iran, and Shinar, from Hamath to the islands of the sea. So we know that was partially fulfilled in through the Balfour Declaration in 1917. It was returned. Israel returned and became a nation one day, like it says in May of 1948. We know that happened. The second regathering is still going on. It hasn't been totally fulfilled yet. And so, people currently who were leaving Israel because of the trouble are now suddenly, like it says in Jeremiah 49, they hear a call from an ambassador to come back and fight a battle. And that's the one I want to look at, if I can find that real. Yes, Zephaniah chapter 49. This is all these correlate with each other. I don't have time to go through all. I did some videos on my channel and on some other channels about this, but you can go there. But it says, I have heard a messenger from the Lord. Okay, this is from the Lord. And an ambassador has been sent to the nations. Gather together, come against her, and rise up to battle against who? Well, this confederacy. So you have these people calling out, and you look in the headlines, check it out, type in Israelis and other people signing up to go fight for Israel. Israel right now is over 150% above their goal for their military. They're still taking people in. And so people are coming back to Israel right now to fight, just like this says, in direct context with what is going on over there. And you see this in Isaiah chapter 11 as well. And Isaiah 11, verse 13. It says, it's cryptic, but it says, the envy of Ephraim, that means double fruitfulness, shall depart. And what this verse is talking about, two predominant factions in Israel who don't get along with each other. And the adversaries of Judah, mean those who praise and worship God, something's going to bring them together. That's what these verses are talking about. And it says in verse it says, Ephraim what I can gather, refers to the people who made Israel prosperous, which would be the secular Jews, who prospered the land and made it fruitful. And they shall not envy, have strong emotions of zealous envy over Judah, those who praise God, the religious class. So you have the religious Jews and the secular Jews always fighting each other. Shall not harass or just trouble each other no more. That's what that verse is talking about. That actually happened right after October 7th. The two sides came together. Now you got all these people coming back into Israel to fight, just like it says in Zechariah chapter 49, verse 14 there. You have all this coming to pass right before our eyes, and it's too uncanny. Because these two groups of people, and you've been over there, you know what I'm talking about. They go at each other.
Absolutely, yeah.
And now they're united.
Yeah, it is very unprecedented to see them come together and unite, as you say. And that's amazing that you've seen that in Scripture.
And then Isaiah 11:14, but they shall fly down upon the shoulder of the Philistines toward the west. That's partially fulfilled in 67 war. When the cities of Ashdod, Ashkelon, and stuff were made real secure back then. Okay, when Israel became a nation, all that. But this about flying down on the shoulder of Israel, partially this saw it happen in 67 war, but it really didn't happen because Philistine, the Gaza Strip is still there. And that is an interesting phrase because the Complete Word Study Dictionary from American Missionary Guild, defines flying down as implying drawing of one sword to come down hard on their enemies. In other words, you had enough, you're drawing the sword, and you're going to slash them. So the current Israeli operation is called Swords of Iron. That's pretty ironic.
Wow, and it's like the western shoulder is the Gaza Strip.
And you're going to fly from the west. It's the only way really to attack. You attack toward the west, which is toward the coast. And so you're going to fly down, and they're going to take them out toward the Gaza Strip there. And again, 11:14 continues together. They shall plunder the people of the east. That means Iran. Okay, the Iraq area, the old Assyrian Empire. They shall lay their hand on Edom and Moab and the people of Ammon. That's pretty much Jordan. But what it says here about that is that these people, when the Jewish people were expelled from the land by the year, I think 135 AD, when there were pretty much hardly any Jews left in the land of Israel, these people drifted back from 70 AD on up. They're basically in the West Bank area. That's where they're at, the West Bank. And what's interesting, it says, the people Ammon and Moab and Edom, they shall obey them, meaning Israel. In other words, I think that the Jordan area is going to stay out of it, but the West Bank is going to be used as a launching point for an invasion. So
okay.
I'm kind of...
Okay, is that just his opinion or what?
Seeing that take shape, because it's the West Bank. It's always been a troubling area for some time. So, and then it's...
Yeah, they declared war, Yemen, didn't they, Diane? Wasn't that you who posted that?
As in verse 15, the Lord shall utterly destroy the tongue of the sea of Egypt. And we're reading about Egypt right now. The Nile River is drying up. I mean, it's kind of amazing. I don't know how Egypt is going to play in this. They might stay out of it. They might join in. I don't know. It's not really clear in that.
Was there one verse that talked about Sudan, and you said that the weapons are being siphoned from Sudan?
It would be the Hagarites. The Hagarites were a group of people, and it talks about that would be below Egypt where the Sudan is. And there's another area they talk about, the coastland, basically the coastland of Saudi Arabia, which is Yemen. And there's another area, I can't remember the name, but I think that's in there, the Hagarites and the Assyrians and stuff.
Right, and we have seen some rockets fired already from the Houthis in Yemen.
Yeah, you've seen that. We've been intercepting, so you'll see arrows like it says in Scripture being fired, but they're ready their bows is what they're talking about, and they're shooting them over there, and some of them will come from that area, and that's happening right now. And then in the Sudan area, it's going to be...
Hey, Ryan, good to see you.
To Sudan area, parts of Ethiopia, anything but...
The whole world's heating up, isn't it, YO? We're on the brink of World War III, literally.
Oh, Egypt there. Stay out of it. Will they stay out of it? I don't know. But if you look at it, that's the area that's being dominated by China now. China's pretty much got the hegemony over that whole area, and they're taking control of it, taking away from the West. They're going to control. They're stripping them of their resources and so forth. So you have China.
Diane, I've been passed out on here as well. If you remember, a couple of years ago, I got too drunk and passed out.
In there now, and Russia going into China. No, not China, but into Africa, that part of Africa. So that's what that kind of means there in the Bible text. Yeah, it's
okay. And then at the moment we see that the UK and the Young Lions, the US and others are defending Israel. We've got our ships in the east of Mediterranean, but there'll come a time in the future of Bible prophecy that it says that no one will stand with Israel at some point.
Yeah, that's what they talk about the sons of Lot, and they intoxicate and they cover over the crimes that the enemy is producing in order to win people over. So yeah, that's going to happen. You're going to see a shift. And we're seeing it where people are turning against Israel, even in the countries that said they'll support them.
Right.
They're protesting in the streets right now. So that's just the start of it.
And the media also seems to be fueling that slowly.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And then there's judgment against Iran called Elam. And it's an interesting one.
Talk us about that before we finish. That's something I've been looking into recently, and I'm still not fully decided on things, but it's definitely an interesting one. I've seen that Elam was it the southernmost part of Iran there's a prophecy about that.
Elam will be like along the mountainous areas between Iraq and it basically covers the area of Tehran over to the border of Iraq and on down toward the coast there, that little section of ocean there, the Gulf of Arabia, whatever it is called, I can't remember geographically. But that's the area there. That's Elam. It kind of goes down along the mountainous areas. But it's where the mullahs and stuff ruling from right now. It's just interesting. Jeremiah chapter 49, verse 34 says, the word of the Lord that came to Jeremiah the prophet against Elam. Elam means the distant highlands, which are located east of Babylon, as well as the ancient Persian Empire that took over Babylon, okay? From the beginning of the reign of Zedekiah, Zedekiah means justice of Judah, praisers of God, justice of, saying, thus says the Lord of hosts, behold, I'll break the bow of Elam, and that's parts of Iran right now, the foremost of their might.
Wow.
So they're the most foremost funders of world terrorism, sponsors of terrorism in the world. And they have a religious war going on. They want religious domination of the world.
Yeah.
Bow is also, you got to ask yourself a question when you read prophecy. What's a bow for? Well, it's for hunting. It's also used in times of war to fire arrows. This is the bow of Iran, which I now view as the arms of the terrorist groups such as Hamas, Hezbollah, Hezbollah, all of these terrorist groups they're funding. They're firing arrows from bows, so to speak, rockets, missiles that are shot like arrows into the sky. And there's going to come a time when you read these verses, this is going to stop. God had enough, and this is going to stop. And this kind of correlates with the Psalms 83 war. It does. It fits. And in verse 36, against the highlands of Iran, Elam, I'll bring the four winds from the four quarters of heaven and scatter them toward those of the winds, and there shall be no nations where the outcasts of Elam will not go. This most likely refers to the terrorists that they support, because there are two groups of people being mentioned. One group that goes out and spreads the terror, and the other group, the mullahs and the governing faction that takes the money in and makes deals in Iran, in Tehran. That's the governing authority. In fact, I think the next verse tells us about it. I'll cause Elam, this Iran here, to be dismayed before enemies and before those who seek their life. I'll bring disaster upon them in my fierce anger, says the Lord. I'll send the sword after them until I have consumed them. Verse 38, I'll set my throne and rule in Elam, and I will destroy them from there, their kings and princes. It avoids talking about people, but kings and princes. So I find it ironic that the state sponsors of terrorism are a small group of people who govern Iran since the late 70s on up, that the majority of the Iranian people hate. They tried to overthrow twice, and maybe more time. They tried it. Obama turned his back against them, and recently, I think in 2020, they tried to rebel against the mullahs again, and Biden didn't lift a finger to help them. And so you got two groups of people, and he mentions that he's going to inflict the judgment's going to fall on their kings and princes, their rulers.
Right.
Verse 38, it says this. It says, he's going to destroy them, but he's going to set his throne in Elam, in Persia, there, or in Iran. And the next verse says it, verse 39 of Jeremiah 49. It will come to pass in the latter days, specifically the latter days, I'll bring back the captives of Elam, Iran, says the Lord. And right now, there is a current huge revival going on. Check me out, Dave. You can find all kinds of stuff about this revival. It is sweeping the common people of Iran, and they are facing extreme persecution. Yes, he's going to bring back the captives. He's going to set up his throne in Iran.
I heard about that. A lot of Muslims there are having...
Guys, the 1967 war, what Israel, that 7-day war, did any of the countries actually declare war, or did they just go into it without declaring war? Because I don't remember if they did, but they are declaring war now, so that's a big step.
Dreams
and they're coming to know Jesus Christ as salvation.
Yeah, and that's actually happening too. I checked it out, and I got on the video I recently did and put all the pictures in. I just put a couple of the headlines in, and it's like the kind of eye opener when you read that, see that you have kings and princes that these people hate, and God wants to set His throne there. This all makes sense, and it will happen when in the latter days.
Right. It says specifically the latter days in that verse, doesn't it?
Literally, that's what it says. And I think that latter days means it's the last call. It's almost like a sign of something to come later. The latter days is plural, but this is the last port of call. This begins the latter days.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Very, very interesting. Thank you, Brian. There's so much to go through. I'm aware of the time as well. It feels like we're only...
Oh, what the fuck are you guys even talking about? Global controls will have to be imposed, and a world governing body will be created to enforce them.
Welcome to 10 You go deep, homeboy. Aaron, open your mind. The fountain of knowledge. There's lizard people everywhere. That's some interdimensional training. Wake up, Aaron.
This is only the beginning.
You should fill my mind.
Are you ready to get your mind blown?
Good morning, Swarm, and welcome to Tinfoil Hat. You know I am. You know I'm here to. Join me as always, Xavier Guerrero, and on the ones to Jay Nice, Juicy Johnny Woodard. Crazy show today. We had a guest who had to cancel, so we called in Big Guns. Some might call them the B unit. I call them the ready to fucking go to war guys. And we're very excited to have them on. We're going to bring them in. Isaac Weissip and Jay Dyer. We'll have them in 2 seconds. But before, I want to tell you about some things I got coming up. And I need you guys. Listen, here's what I want to say, and I'm not going to talk long about this. I know you guys are like what happens with my fans, and I'm very appreciative that you guys come and see me. You guys take your time to buy tickets. If you plan on seeing us, Eddie Bravo, myself, Xavier Guerrero, in Indianapolis, in St. Louis, please buy a ticket. Please. You make these people stress out, and then when you all show up, they're like, oh, it's great. I'm like, okay, just buy a ticket, please. Well, you know it's going to be Crush, myself, Xavier, and XG doing stand-up. So in the second...
Actually, I don't know if that's going to be copyrighted. I better not play that one. Let's see what it lined up. Where was it? No, I didn't have it lined up. I thought I did. Hang on.
That's some interdimensional shit.
Man,
Wake up, Aaron.
This is only the beginning.
Dude, you should fill my mind.
Are you ready to get your mind blown?
Good morning, Swarm, and welcome to Tinfoil Hat. You know I am. You know I'm here to join me as always.
okay, I found what I was looking for, guys. Skip admin alone. Come on.
To destroy us and wants to cut our cord from you and from your Messiah. Father, we also pray now. Shalom and good evening, everyone. This is Amir Tsarfati. This is November 1st, Wednesday, and I'm live from my home in Galilee. The reason why I'm at home is because we have the highest alert of a possibility that Hezbollah will join the war and start firing huge barrages of rockets, and we're right there within range. So I needed to be few seconds walking away from the bomb shelter in my house. Again, this is our special update on the war in Israel. There is a lot to talk about, a lot of good things and bad things. And all in all, we have to remember God is in full control. But let's start with a prayer. Father, we thank you so much that you are in full control, that you are the one that is watching over your people, that you are the one that is laughing at all the nations that wants to destroy us and wants to cut our cord from you and from your Messiah. Father, we also pray now that you will oversee this update today, that it will not be anything but encouragement and something that will give us clarity and something that will bring us closer to you. Father, we know there's so much deception in this world. There's so much evil, so much diabolic and satanic and demonic activity all around us. And we need you more than ever before. We thank you and we bless you and we ask that in Yeshua's name. Amen. Shalom, everyone. Again, this is Amir Tsarfati. I am live from my home in Galilee in Israel. This is November 1st, Wednesday, a very special Middle East update on the war in Israel. And again, a couple days ago, we had a very, very wonderful evening when we learned that the Israeli special forces, led by the Secret Service warriors as well, managed to get all the way to the heart of Gaza and rescue one of the kidnapped soldiers. Believe it or not, Corporal Ori Megidish was released and was reunited with her family, and that caused great eruption of amazing joy and dancing in the streets of her hometown, Kiryat Gat. But unfortunately, war has price also, and over the past 36 hours, we've lost 16 soldiers in the battles, fierce battles with Hamas terrorists. In fact, 11 of them were killed in one RPG shot of a Hamas terrorist. We've got part of the video that shows how, and shows you basically what we have to deal with. Take a look. He's coming out of a tunnel, ear of a tunnel, a shaft of a tunnel. He's putting the RPG aside, and he's climbing, and then he is locating the IDF vehicle, and he's shooting. As you can see, that's the vehicle that was attacked Unfortunately, again, we've lost 11 soldiers of the Givati Brigade in that vicious attack. However, let me tell you, folks, we are advancing within Gaza. We have the ground maneuver officially on high gear, and Israel is right now making an effort to cut the Gaza Strip into two and to
Give them hell, Israel. Give them hell.
surround the city of Gaza, and more so, believe it or not, the main hospital of Gaza. And you're probably asking yourself, why? Well, for the longest time, it was clear to every Israeli that whenever Hamas is shooting rockets, the leaders of Hamas are running to find.
Yeah, Diane, but you're the conspiracy nut to your friend. That she believes that it's all fake.
Shelter and refuge in the tunnels underneath the main hospital, Shifa Hospital. We know that they have it, but we have confirmation now from our intelligence as well as from the latest interrogation of the terrorists we captured on October 7th. And so let me show you what the Shifa Hospital looks like. And the compound itself, as you can see on the screen right now, I don't know if you can see it, but there is the compound, and it has the different parts of the hospital, but next to every department or every ward of the hospital, there's also a Hamas headquarters, a pier, a shaft, and a tunnel, and a place where they shoot rockets from, place where they run their operations from. In fact, the Israeli military prepared a video to show you what we have there. So take a look at the Shifa Hospital. That's the hospital from outside. And under the ground, that's what you have. Tunnels, more tunnels, and more tunnels. And of course, the control room. This is where the leaders of Hamas are right now. So Israel, we've warned them that they need to clear the hospital. They've got a few hours to clear the hospital, move south. We are getting there, and we're going to get those terrorists outside from those tunnels, and either by them surrendering.
So you wouldn't know Israel's so strong in Gaza doing their operation because the West doesn't report on it. But it seems like they're getting the upper hand.
Or by us killing them. That's what you need to do. They are hiding not just behind civilians, but underneath hospital patients. And this is a crime against humanity. This is a violation of the Geneva Convention, speaking of that. So we are warning them. We know where they are. In fact, a lot of times when you're watching TV right now, you see that quite a lot of the northern part of Gaza is destroyed. Let me tell you why. I'll show you another diagram of what an innocent neighborhood looks like, but what we know that they have under the ground. Take a look at this one. This is the Jabalia area. And as you can see, it looks innocent, but what we have there, in between a mosque, a clinic on one side, and a school on the other, there is a whole compound that has shafts for tunnels where they hold rockets and terrorists. And this is exactly why we had to completely destroy everything and kill the terrorists within the tunnels underneath. And so you get to see photos like that of before and after. Take a look at that. And of course, we've warned the residents for weeks now to leave. So you see on the right-hand side, it's before. On the left is after. You see also another one on the right-hand side before, on the left it's after. One more. On the right-hand side is before, on the left it's after. And in all those cases, folks, once again, before and after. We have destroyed in the last few days 11,000.
Disgusting, aren't they, Shawnee?
terrorist targets within mostly just northern Gaza. They have invested billions in not in their health or education, transportation, or welfare, in building gigantic terror infrastructure inside buildings and underneath them. Almost every other building is covering a shaft that leads to a system of 1,300 tunnels with the accumulated length of 500 kilometers, about 3,500 miles, and the depth is more than 250 feet. As you can see, there are several levels. And what you need to know is that they don't even hide that fact.
Very much like Epstein's Island, isn't it, Diane?
In fact, let me show you an interview where the reporter is asking one of the Hamas leaders, you've got 500 kilometers length of tunnels. Why don't you let the people find shelter in them?
Wow, great
What he
question.
said.
البعض يتساءل، وهذا سؤال رائج وشائع، يعني من قام بتشييد 500 كيلومتر من الأنفاق؟ لماذا لم يشيد مآوي يلجأ إليها المدنيون خلال القصف؟
نحن شيدنا الأنفاق لأنه لا نملك ما ندفع به عن أنفسنا من القتل والاستهداف.
Ourselves
هذه
means
الأنفاق من
terrorists.
أجل أن نحمي أنفسنا من الطائرات. نحن مقاتلين من
For Hamas.
الأنفاق. أما القطاع غزة
But
فأنت تعلم والجميع يعلم بأنه 75%
people are refugees.
منه لاجئين، واللاجئين هو مسؤولية الأمم المتحدة في حمايتهم.
Responsibility of the United Nations.
في أن يقدم كل تبعا لاتفاقية جنيف
All
الدولية
right.
أن يقدم لهم كل الخدمات.
See, Amir's like me. He yells at the TV as well.
Do you understand what he just said? All these tunnels we built is for us to hide. As far as the people of Gaza, they're refugees. They're the problem of the United Nations or Israel or other people. This is exactly what we have to deal with. And this is why Israel is warning everyone to leave, because we want to get to those people under the ground. There are 30 to 40,000 terrorists that are holding themselves in those tunnels under the ground. As you can see, he's not even trying to, say that they don't have it. He's explaining why they have it and what they're using it for. Unbelievable. And so, the Israeli forces are already deep into the Gaza Strip. You can see there's a lot of footage of Israeli troops that are in the Gaza Strip already, on the right, on the left, above. And we're trying to basically surround the city of Gaza, which is the nerve center of those terrorists. And slowly, we're closing in on the Shifa hospital, and eventually, here you go. You see, this is activity that we have right now. We're already, that's in the depth of the Gaza Strip. We're moving with tanks, armored vehicles, a lot of support from the air. And these are our commanders. Our troops are already walking through those fields. And as I say, every other house there was used by terrorists either to store weapon or to shoot from. And of course, many of them are covering shafts of tunnels where they are hiding missiles, and also they hide all their
Tell you, a pole shift is the only thing that explains every mountain moving out of their place. It's the only thing that can explain it.
command centers. Now let me explain something, folks. People say there is a humanitarian crisis. There is food, there is water, there is also electricity in the most part of Gaza. But the one thing that Hamas is really in need for is gasoline, is fuel. And why? Because without fuel, you cannot operate the ventilators to supply air to people under the ground.
That's why they turned off the electricity, so the tunnels can suffocate.
We cannot operate their command center, their communications, their control systems, all of that. So the fuel that the Gazans get goes to Hamas. In fact, we already know that they are stealing fuel that was given to hospitals for their own generators, for their own medical equipment. They're stealing it in order to operate their ventilators, their generators, for their equipment. Let me make it very clear: the people of Gaza are not of the concern of the terrorists of Hamas.
Yeah, they don't care.
Careless about them. They are hiding behind them. They are hiding underneath them. And they enjoy the fact that the people are dumb enough to vote for them and to support them. And you need to understand, this war was started, everybody's shouting now, ceasefire, ceasefire. Well, let me remind you, on October 6th, there was a ceasefire. Somebody broke that ceasefire October 7th in the morning and slaughtered so many people within a few hours. And now, when we pay back and get them, they want a ceasefire. That's not how it works. They committed crimes against humanity, and they need to pay. And that's the funny thing is, most of the world is now demonstrating for ceasefire and for peace, or from the sea, from the river to the sea. No one talks about October 7th. One of the most documented genocides in the history of planet Earth. One of which that was live broadcasted on WhatsApp, on Facebook, on Telegram. We have all the footage of all the cameras. It cannot, in fact, let me show you something. I don't know if we have it, but on Telegram I just posted. Today we showed Israeli parliament members, those who could take it, a 45 minutes long video of the atrocities. This is what they looked like when they came out. All of them were crying. They couldn't. They needed psychological treatment after this. They could not believe what their eyes saw. 45 minutes of raw footage from the body cams, all of the terrorists themselves, and what they did. It is unbelievable. In fact, we have also more and more and more testimonials that are coming now from search and rescue teams. One of them gave one of the most shocking testimony I've ever heard in my entire life, of how they found, and maybe we can put it on the screen so you see what I'm talking about. Okay, I don't know if that's a video. But if it is a video, you'll see what he found. But if it's not a video, then I'll just tell you what he found. He found a baby in the cooking oven in a house. The terrorists enter the house. They entered into the house. They took the father. They tied him with his hands behind to the chair. They took the baby from the hands of the mother, put the baby inside the kitchen oven, turn it all the way to the maximal temperature. And while the baby's being cooked,
if this is true, this is the most barbaric thing I have ever heard.
They raped the woman in front of her husband, and then they shot them both. And the baby, this search and rescue worker found the body of the baby not only burned but swollen completely inside the oven. Now, what type of animals do such things? Forget about the fact that they killed a baby outside of his mother's womb, and then they shot her. They forget about the fact that they beheaded toddlers and babies and burned people alive like crazy. This is the first time in the history of Israel that in order to identify a terror victim, we need archaeologists. Archaeologists, because we're having a sack full of ashes. we collect a tooth and a piece of bone here. We have to identify stuff like that, and it's just a few weeks ago, and it's unbelievable. The morgue where stuff was coming to, they received bags. They sort things out like Lego, because they had pieces of bodies. They found the DNA of this hand that matches the DNA of this head, and so they have to put it right next to it because they have to bury the hand with the head. It was all because when they came and the search and rescue came and they picked up the pieces, it was just all around. Nazis is a compliment to call them. So I know that I'm a little bit out of focus. I'll try to be right now, okay? Anyway, all right. I'm sorry. I'm at home. It's a home.
See, Shawnee, that's the problem. Can they wipe Hamas out? We don't know yet.
Maybe now it's working. Sorry. Anyway, let's move on. I mean, I'm a little bit too. It's too much for me. Let's move on to some more things. Okay, so let me show you what we're trying to do. This is a map of the northern part of Gaza, just so you understand, and look at the different parts of the Israeli forces. They're already on one side, on the north, on the northwest, on the northeast, and also we're trying to cut Gaza into two, down in the south. And so what you see in the middle is the actual city of Gaza that we're targeting right now. And just so you know, when you come and see the footage and all these poor people and half of the things that we saw on the CCV, the cameras, CCTV, the closed circle camera, half of the atrocities were done by civilians, not just the terrorists. And I can also tell you that one of the reasons those civilians are entered alive, although Israeli soldiers saw them, we didn't shoot them because they were unarmed. Then they walked in and they pulled a knife and they pulled an axe and they used those things and they just abused those bodies. Now, while those people of Gaza are so poor, let me show you the net worth of Hamas leaders, just so you understand what we're talking about, okay? So these are the three top leaders. Musa Abu Marzouk is the one that was interviewed earlier, I showed you. Khalid Mashal, Ismail Haniyeh. We're talking about
3 billion, 5 billion.
Millions and billions of dollars. And these people, whenever there is money comes to Gaza, they probably take 20% to invest in Gaza, 80% they divide between terrorist infrastructure and their own pocket. And by the way, all of them don't even live in Gaza. They live in luxury hotels, either in Turkey or in Qatar. They also don't allow, they prevent foreign nationalities of human workers, journalists, and others to leave Gaza because they want to create, obviously, humanitarian crisis. But we continue and we move on. And by the way, I don't know if you can see the released soldier that we managed to, with special forces, to release. I don't know if you can see it, but yeah, that's her. I don't know if you can see it. It's, can we put that, the family picture of her in the middle? Yes, that's her in the middle. That's the day she was rescued. She wasn't released. She was rescued from the hands of Hamas. And another girl that was very famous is Shani Luke. She's a German Israeli. Shani was a tattoo artist, an influencer, and she came to Israel for that music festival. And everybody remembers her because her body was actually in the back of a pickup truck paraded in Gaza. And her mom was told by the Palestinian that she's fine and she's in a hospital in Gaza. But guess what? Guess what, folks? We actually found her skull. We identified her. We found a skull. We found she was beheaded, and we found her what's left from her head. And that's how we identified her, and we notified her family. And that's when the Israeli troops entered, and we more or less remembered where she was last seen. Horrific atrocities, and it's just unbelievable. Now, after we covered Gaza and what's going on right there right now, and fierce battles are going on right now throughout the night, throughout the day, and again, the Israelis, we hear nothing. This is the first time the IDF is just not saying a word about what's going on there, because we want the troops not to be exposed, and we want them to do their job in the maximum security. But I want you to know that around us, there are more countries, of course.
Thanks, Diane.
Egypt is finally opening a field hospital outside on their side of the Gaza Strip in Rafah.
I'm on a journey to discover the human story of golf, how it shapes us.
And I want you to, there you go, here it is. Also, I want you to know that the Egyptian Prime Minister said the following thing. He said, the Egyptian Prime Minister said that the country is ready to sacrifice millions of lives to defend the country. Now, make no mistake, he's not talking about a fight with Israel. He is afraid of Palestinians being in his territory. Look at how many tanks the Egyptians brought to the border just to make sure no Palestinians are entering.
Check out the Egyptian tanks. They got Sundex on top. Wow, look at that.
Into their territory. Isn't that interesting that during the Ukraine war, 16 countries, including Israel, opened their gates for Ukrainians, refugees?
Diane.
Well, since the Gaza war began, not a single Arab country opened its border for Palestinian refugees. Not even one. And that tells you the whole story. No one wants them. Because everybody understands.
That's true, isn't it, guys? None of the countries are taking in these refugees. Wow. Let's just hear that bit again.
Palestinians are entering into their territory. Isn't that interesting that during the Ukraine war, 16 countries, including Israel, opened their gates for Ukrainians, refugees? Well, since the Gaza war began, not a single Arab country opened its border for Palestinian refugees. Not even one.
That's a big one.
That tells you the whole story.
It does.
No one wants them. Because everybody understands this is a hornet nest. This is something that you don't want to deal with. It's terrorism, it's violence, it's sanctification of death. It's not what other countries want to have. Well, if Hamas was funded and trained by Iran, there's another proxy of Iran that, as of yesterday, declared war on Israel and began to shoot long-range missiles and drones. And I'm talking about the Houthis in Yemen. The Houthis in Yemen.
Weren't the Houthis in Africa first off?
We're talking about a group of 50,000 people of extreme Shiite Muslims, very, very radical. In fact, on their flag, look what it says. This is their flag. It's not the flag of Yemen. It's the flag of the Houthis. It says, Allah is the greatest. Death to America. Death to Israel. Cursed are the Jews. and victory to Islam. When that's what they live for. This is what they're all about. Death to America, death to Israel, curse are upon the Jews, and Islam will be victorious. That's it. It's unbelievable. I mean, where is life? Where is your success? What is your life goals? It's all about curse and death. And so this is their spokesman, Brigadier General Yahya Sha'ar, I think. Take a look at him and how he announced that they're declaring war on Israel and they're coming to help their Palestinian brothers and sisters. Take a look at this guy. I don't know if we have him. We should have the Houthi Brigadier General speaking, screaming actually, not even speaking. No, not him. I'm talking about, it's a video of him, skinny, tall guy that is screaming. If we don't have it, then it's okay. Just so you know, they already began shooting long-range rockets. When I'm talking about rockets, take a look at the distance between Israel and Yemen. Look at this map and see for yourself. We're talking about 1,000 miles that those rockets should fly. In fact, look at the distance between Israel and Yemen. Look how far they are one from another. Look at this map and see, why would Yemen attack Israel? Or unless it's completely spiritual and diabolic. And so that's what we have with them. And let me show you a video from 2 a.m. last night from the city that my grandparents founded in the early 1950s, Eilat, by the Red Sea, the resort town by the Red Sea, Eilat. That's the rocket that they launched. There you go.
Keep it local with a new .au domain from Micron 21 and get 6 months of web hosting for free. We're 100% Australian owned and operated with 24/7 local support. Get Australia's lowest price for .au.
And the interception of the rocket above the sea, above the red, boom, that's it. Now, this particular interception is not of a rocket, it's of a UAV. It's a suicide drone that they sent. And what we do, we wait for it to arrive, and then we destroy it right above the Red Sea, away from Israel.
Geez, they got suicide drones to take out missiles. Wow.
But those ballistic surface-to-surface missiles that they shoot, the ballistic missile can go to space and then land on their target. And Israel just developed the Arrow 3. It's the most sophisticated air defense system for such ballistic missiles. And we basically destroy the Yemenite missiles in space. This is the exact same system that Germany just purchased from Israel for billions of euros of dollars. So you know, it's very interesting because the Yemenites don't understand that they are supplying us a great operational
What happened there?
experience for the weapons that we just produced. So first time ever, the Arrow 3 was used in operation, in a military operation, in a war, was yesterday, and it was beautifully precise, and it destroyed in space the Yemenite surface-to-surface missile. So these are the Yemenites. They have thousands of rockets, thousands of drones, and they just promise to send them every day. Israel has deployed warships and on the Red Sea. And I don't know if we have the video of the ship on the Red Sea, but again, everything I'm telling you, I already posted on Telegram for you to be able to see. But we deployed our one of our or several of our warships just in case it manages to penetrate one layer of defense, we can also defend it with another. Last week, if I'm not mistaken, or 10 days ago, the Yemenites started with barrage of several rockets and drones. They actually were intercepted by Saudi Arabia and the United States Navy on the way to Israel. And so I guess they found a way to bypass that and shoot it towards Israel, and now Israel is taking care of it. We have several layers of
Yeah, Shawnee Diane's a link queen, best linker in the planet.
defense systems, one for short range, another for medium range, and another one for long range. And that is what we are using in this case. Israel is trying not to engage itself in other war fronts, and we want to right now concentrate on destroying Hamas. We do have another front, and that's Lebanon and Syria. We have intelligence that the Iranians want the militias in Syria to do something. And we also know that Hassan Nasrallah in Lebanon is about to deliver on Friday at 3 p.m. a speech. People estimate that in that speech he will declare also his entrance into the war. Make no mistake, ever since October 8th, Nasrallah began shooting anti-tank missiles and mortar shells and some rockets towards northern Israel, but he is doing that in the dose and the way and the location that is still not going to cause us to start an all-out war. The good thing for us is that our Air Force is not engaged into bombardment of Gaza as much as it used to, because we have done the softening of the targets for the ground troops to begin their maneuver, and we're ready to hit Lebanon should the Lebanese start. Now, make no mistake, most of the Lebanese people are not into any war with Israel. In fact, in polls that were made in Lebanon, 80% of the Lebanese don't.
Okay, Talia, good night.
And even many of the Shiite Muslims there don't want any war. So if Hassan Nasrallah of Hezbollah will start a war, it's not because he has the Lebanese interest in his mind, but his patrons in Tehran, their interests. And that's going to be a very interesting thing. We're bracing for something big, but you know, right now everybody's mocking him for not joining the party. I don't know if I told you that. I think I did, but Hezbollah and Iran, they're not happy with what Hamas did. Of course, all in all, they like the fact.
I do know that they're not happy because Hamas jumped the gun. They were supposed to wait for orders, but they jumped the gun. Typical self-centered buggers.
Israelis were killed, and that's their dream. But they were banking on a reunification of all the fronts for a day of battle at once. I mean, that was the goal, the grand plan of Iran. They nurtured and prepared militias in Syria and Iraq, in Lebanon, in Yemen, and Gaza, and within the West Bank. So within the same day, all of them are going to shoot rockets, penetrate on vehicles, take over hostages, take over villages, kill as many, kidnap as many, and paralyze Israel completely. Hamas jumped their gun and did not wait for the day of command. And this is exactly why Iran is letting Hamas shed its own blood. Iran, you have to understand something about the Iranians. A lot of people don't understand that. The Iranians are not Arabs, they're Persians. For them, if you call them Arabs, you're insulting them. And I'm talking about what Iranians told me. I'm not even talking about what I read or heard. I was told by Iranians that in the way they think, the Ayatollahs, they do not want to waste blood of Iranians. They do not want Iranians to expose themselves, Iranians to fight for. I mean, they want Iranians to just guard Iran's territory. For the other dirty jobs, that's why they prepared militias of Iraqis, of Syrians, of Afghans, of Pakistanis, of Palestinians, and of Yemenites. And of all these people that I said, the Palestinians in Gaza are the least. As far as Iran is concerned, Hamas Palestinians, it's like plastic cup. It's getting dirty, we can get another one, and another one, and another one. Do you understand that they can get rid of them, they can get rid of the Yemenites, they're discussed by Arabs. They only have a shared interest, and that's, of course, their diabolic ideology to destroy Israel. But Iran is interested in letting others
Diane, that'd be because of the jab with Brooke Shields.
Die and not its own. Others fight and not their own. They don't want to bring the war into Iran. They want to keep the war away from Iran. And for that, they built all of their proxies. In Lebanon, Israel already dropped leaflets on houses in Lebanon, warning them not to get into this idea, not to have an idea of not to dare to participate in the war against us, because we will destroy Lebanon, basically. Israel is dropping leaflets in Syria, in Lebanon, in Gaza. We're warning people, don't do that. We didn't do anything to the Lebanese. We didn't do anything to the Syrians or to the Yemenites. Look at the distance between Yemen and Israel. So why do you start a war against us? We're warning you. Now, that's as far as Lebanon. We have daily exchange of fire, but again, it's in low intensity, and it seems like both sides know that we can manage that. Israel is interested in focusing on Gaza right now. But it should Nasrallah.
Wow, that's terrible, Shawnee.
Because he wants to prove that he is keeping his word, and he is not allowing Gaza to, although I doubt it, if he will do that, that will be a fatal mistake. Now, we also have Jordan on the other side. Jordan is in peace with Israel. We have fractions with them. The Jordanian queen, which is Palestinian, in an interview with Christiane Amanpour, she doubted if the October 7th events really happened. I mean, how dare she? But the Jordanians are more afraid of something else. They're more afraid of rockets coming from other places. And therefore, Jordan asked America to deploy Patriot missile batteries in Jordan. I think we have it, it says here, the Jordanian asked that for that deployment. I don't know if we can put it there. There you go. Now, how about Saudi Arabia, ladies and gentlemen? First of all, you need to understand, it's very likely that Iran is now interested in this conflict because they wanted to derail the looming Israeli-Saudi agreement. Of course, this is also an interest of Russia, that there will be no alternative energy pipe from India, from Israel, all the way to Europe, which will then make the Russian one redundant. And therefore...
that autocorrect can make you look crazy sometimes.
We know that Iran and Russia have both interests in preventing any agreement between the Saudis and the Israelis. But guess what? Israel and the Saudis share a common enemy. Not only Iran, but take a look at what happened in Saudi Arabia. The Saudi army has been on high alert in recent days following armed clashes with the Houthis in Yemen that resulted in the death of 4 Saudi soldiers last week. So lo and behold,
so the Saudis are fighting back. That's what's going on there.
You can clearly see that the Saudis actually want Israel to take care of the Houthis as well. And so what I'm trying to say is that I'm not sure it's working for Iran. And biblically, if you know the prophecy of Ezekiel, Saudi Arabia will not join a war against us, but will protest the war against us. Now, if Iran and Russia...
I didn't know the Bible said Ezekiel said that. Ezekiel war.
And of course, the Palestinians thought that they can shake the Abraham Accords. It didn't work. Look what the United Arab Emirates said. This is Mr. Dr. Ali Rashid Al Nuaimi, the chairman of the Defense, Interior, and Foreign Affairs Committee at the UAE Federal National Council. He said that the Abraham Accords are our future. He said they are here to stay. And if that's not enough, the Bahraini foreign minister said exactly the same thing. It is our common interest to keep the Abraham Accords working. So the Arab collaboration with Israel is very, very important and strategic for them. Let me see if we are, I mean, we still have, excuse me. This is not going to happen when I have Connect in a few months. Okay, now, let's talk about the USA, okay? Let's talk about the USA. There's two things about the US. There is the US bases that are here in the Middle East, and they are being attacked not on a daily basis, almost on an hourly basis. By who? By Iranian militias, by those in Iraq and Syria. They are not only shooting rockets, but they're sending drones, suicide drones, and American soldiers are being injured. And I don't know if the American people are aware of that. So the US is sending more and more reinforcement to the region, but the US is being attacked in the Al-Shaddadi base in Syria, in Al-Amer, in Konoko base. There's a lot of bases all around. And there's also reports, as you can see, we talked about the fact that the US, one of the US warships actually intercepted the Houthi missiles towards Israel. But within America, and that's an important thing for you to know, there is still a river of people crossing into America from the southern border. I don't know if I have the video here of what's going on in the southern border, but it's definitely on. Take a look. That's been the last few days. Now, I can tell you.
Look at that, just day after day after day of these migrants, illegal migrants. Guys, your country's gone. It's gone.
One thing. This is from the last few days. And I can tell you folks that among them, the FBI knows that there are terrorists. In fact, the FBI just in one of the hearings in the Congress, the head of the FBI said that they're afraid of terrorists that will be inspired by what Hamas has done in Israel on October 7th. Let me be very clear. I'm not trying to scare you. I'm telling you what the FBI is telling the American people, that there is a growing danger that among those that have infiltrated into America from the South, there are a lot of terrorists. And among them, there might be people who might be inspired by Hamas to do exactly the same thing to American people. Make no mistake.
It's exactly what's going on. They're going to do this to you guys.
They will do it if they will find the right moment and the right opportunity. I am saying that not because I want to scare anyone. I'm saying that because the writing is on the wall. And it's not only in America, it's also in Europe. And we see in Europe stuff that caused a lot of Europeans not to sleep well at night. And also in America, take a look at what's going on with your campuses and your universities. You have Nazis in your universities in America. Take a look at this video from Harvard University.
Time I see those signs, you know what I do? I rip them down.
You rip them down. Want to say your name?
That y'all post up, guess what I do? Rip them, spit on them.
Oh, you don't care about innocent hostages taken by murder and rapists.
What about all those Palestinian babies?
I care about those Palestinian babies that are being murdered by Hamas and Islamic Jihad hands. I do care about them. You don't,
I
clearly.
love Hamas. I think Hamas.
Oh, you love a terrorist organization.
Fucking sand.
Interesting. Harvard Square, everyone.
Hamas should blow
Harvard
the fuck out of Israel. I think they're all dirty animals.
That's not
all
anti-Semitism?
deserve to die.
That's not anti-Semitism?
Correct. They should be all exterminated.
Says the guy hiding behind a mask. What a coward.
Thank you.
Every single one of them. And their kids, their mothers, their children, everybody. Just like
Thank you for proving our point. Have a lovely night. Racist in Harvard.
Harvard University.
Yeah, I heard the New York governor was spewing when they started shipping in the busloads of refugees. Apparently he was spewing. Sucko.
He wants all Jews killed. Their mothers, their fathers, their babies. He's worshiping Hamas. He's admiring Hamas. He thinks all Jews must be killed. That's not the only one. You see in social media all over that you see the same stuff. I don't know if you see posts on social media that, and some students have been arrested also, but take a look at this collage of social media posts that we have. Sorry. I mean, there is a collage of social media posts from Harvard, from Cornell University. From Cornell University, mine is slide 60. I don't know if you have it there, but we are talking about direct order, look at this, here it is. Cornell University police patrols have been increased in campus after flood of threats against Jewish students on its internal communication platforms. And I'm talking about eliminate Jewish living from Cornell campus. The Jewish house on Cornell is yet another literal and symbolic form of apartheid. Jewish people need to be killed. Gonna shoot up 104 West. I mean, stuff like that. This is Cornell University. And if that's not enough, you see people marching in the street. Look at this lady who works for Vogue magazine. Look at what she's having in her mouth. Look at this. It says here, resist colonial power by any means necessary. Which means you can burn babies, you can behead toddlers, you can bake babies, any means necessary.
Okay, well, good night.
These are, you would think they're normative people from all walks of society within America, but that's what we have today. Celebrities that are equating Israel to Nazi Germany. I mean, unbelievable stuff. They call the good evil and the evil good, the darkness light and light darkness. It's unbelievable. And it's not only in America. Take a look at what's going on in Europe. I mean, look at this cartoon of Europe. And it's very, very telling, I would say. Take a look at what Europe looks like. What is added to the stars of the European flag. There you go. They're adding the crescent. And Ayn Rand said, You can avoid reality, but you cannot avoid the consequences of avoiding reality. And this is exactly what is happening in Europe. They're marching in European. First of all, take a look at Vienna. In the Vienna Jewish cemetery, as of this morning, swastikas. Okay. And by the way, make no mistake, Austria is one of the closer friends to Israel in this whole thing. Take a look at what happened in Poland, in Warsaw, a few days ago. They had a march in the streets in Warsaw, and one student, and she happened to be from Norway, she's a medical student. Look at the sign she held in her hand. The medical student in Poland. Look at her in Warsaw, in Poland, and look at the sign she was holding in her hand. It's slide 67. I don't know if you can see it. Again, okay, that's one. That's not her, but that's another one. It's almost the same sign. This is Mehak Qureshi, a designer in London. And look what she said, please keep the world clean. And of course, Jews have to go to the garbage. But there's another one in Poland. And of course, she was suspended. Yes, here she is. She's even proudly interviewed to Nexta TV. And look what she says, keep the world clean, Jews in the garbage. And she's a medical student, and she was suspended from her university. What's going on in Europe is unbelievable, and we'll talk about it very soon when we talk about the horrific anti-Semitism over there. What about Turkey? A lot of us are interested in Turkey because, hey, Turkey is mentioned in Ezekiel, and are we in the Ezekiel 38 war? So, first of all, Turkey is an ally of Israel on the paper. We have great trade relationship and even military one. But Erdogan, who really needed our help in the last few months, of course, changed himself in light of what's going on in Gaza. And he actually said that Hamas is not a terrorist organization at all. He never condemned anything they did on October 7th. He showed up to a rally with this scarf with the Palestinian flag on one side and Turkey on another. Look at the crowd on that Turkish day, National Day, where he spoke very, very with
Are we playing yet?
No chance. He's still cleaning up all your fur.
It's yours.
Look. Now, for the most part, you see Turkish flags because it was their national day. But he used the national day to have a speech where he literally spoke like the greatest anti-Semite. Now, that as far as Turkey is concerned. Also, I want you to know that 2 American B-1 landed in Turkey's Incirlik Air Base in preparation for deployment closer to this area. So Turkey, don't forget, is a NATO member. It's a very interesting thing. He's in bed with Russia. He hates Israel. He's a member of NATO. He has American bases with some nuclear warheads in them. Very interesting thing. Now let me talk about what's going on with the Jewish people around the world. There's a lot of liberal, progressive Jews that live in the United States, among them many celebrities. They woke up to the reality that being liberal and progressive, being surrounded by liberals and progressives, is not enough if you're a Jew and it's time to hate the Jews. They woke up to understand that all their friends in the academia, in their entertainment, are abandoning them. They woke up to understand that all the students that they used to be friends with, all the professors they used to be friends with, are now hating them just because they're Jews. Because it's time to hate the Jews. Because Jews are the problem of the world. You see that not only in Israel, but also around the world, a sobering up moment for all the liberals. They understand that what we see here, those Hamas terrorists, when they entered the kibbutzes and the villages, I want you to know, they killed mostly families that are very pro-Palestinian in their political views. They killed families that were into peace with Palestinians. They killed families that used to help Palestinian kids getting medical help out of Gaza in Israeli hospitals. Peace activists, all of them lived in those kibbutzim. That's the people they killed. Why? Because they are Jews. Doesn't matter if you're liberal, if you're pro-Palestinian, if you love the Palestinians, if you want peace, if you want justice, if you're a Jew, we need to kill you. And all of them are dead right now. And so the left in Israel woke up to the reality that we don't have any partner on the other side. Make no mistake, people try to tell us, oh, that's just the Hamas, not the Palestinian people. Let me tell you something. The Palestinian people held elections and voted for Hamas. And if you think that the Palestinians in Judea and Samaria are different, the reason why Mahmoud Abbas, the president of the PA, is not holding elections for more than a decade is because he knows Hamas will win. They're all Hamas sympathizers. If they could, they would have done the same thing. These are all either Nazis or Nazi collaborators, supporters. They want to kill us. And now, finally, it registered in the minds of the leftists that there is no way we can trust them to run territory that is so close to us. So this is where we are right now, a sobering up moment.
You know, Sean,
and I see two things that are happening. By the way, Jews all around the world are now going through some very, very dark times. In I don't know if we have photos here, but in Paris, in the 12th district of Paris, they are marking Jewish homes with Stars of David. Marking Jewish homes. In Berlin, they mark Jewish homes. Also in London, they mark Jewish homes. But look at this woman in Paris and how she's in tears. And she's trying to explain that what she's going through right now is stuff that used to be in Europe in the 1930s. I don't know if we have it. In the Jewish saying, if you don't, you can go to my Telegram channel and see it for yourself. Look at the rise in anti-Semitism in different parts of the world. It's phenomenal. In the UK alone, we're talking about a 1,350% rise. I mean, as a Jew wearing a yarmulke, you cannot walk in the streets of London right now. In fact, the cops in London are taking off the posters with the kidnapped Israeli children because they're afraid that that will cause an uproar. Even in France, we found it. Even in Germany, we found the cops doing that, fearing of the Muslim reaction in that area. Anti-Semitism in Germany, in Austria, in the UK, anti-Semitism in Russia. I'm visiting Moscow. Look at this. Marking Jewish people. We're back in the 1930s. And all of these Jews in France and in Britain and in Germany and in Austria and probably even in Russia, they understand we are not safe. In fact, a few days ago in Dagestan, a republic in the southern part of Russia, in the northern part of the Caucasus, right by the Caspian Sea, a Telegram channel said to the incited Muslims there that a plane from Tel Aviv is about to land in Hachamkal. Look at it. Allah Akbar. They stormed into the terminal and into the tarmac. Look at them running towards the plane to catch Jewish people. They want Jewish people. Look, they came to the plane. They were looking in the plane. That's looking for Jews. And then the rumor was that the Jews are in a hotel. They went to a hotel called Flamingo. They searched room by room for Jewish people so they can lynch and kill them. The hotel was so, further, they didn't find any Jews. They were so scared that the owner put a sign, entrance is not allowed for Jews. Look, this is 2023.
Wow.
October of 2023. Now it's November.
That's pretty deep.
And it happened. They wanted Jews. They don't have a clue why. Let's kill them. Eventually, the 4 Israelis that were on that flight were airlifted in military helicopters to Moscow. It was a military operation to get them out of there. Crazy stuff. And is the world condemning? No. Is somebody saying anything? No. It's Jewish people. Let's kill them. Very cheap blood. We can do that. Unbelievable. See, this is a dark, demonic cloud that is all over the world right now. And standing by Israel right now takes a toll. There's a price that people need to pay. You're going to be attacked, ridiculed, maybe even violently attacked, certainly shamed on social media because they brainwash those people. And I see a lot of good Christians that suddenly are, oh, look what you're doing in Gaza. I said, well, what am I doing in Gaza? I'm telling the Gazans to leave because I'm about to get Nazi terrorists who just murdered, slaughtered, beheaded, and burned alive 1,400 people. 1,400 people in proportion to the Israeli population is almost 8 times 9/11. Would any country, would America let go of 50,000 casualties? Not just that died instantly within a few seconds in a plane crash, that were tortured, burned alive, beheaded, cut to pieces. We're not going to let go. We're going to get them. They started the war. We are going to finish it. And the Gazans are not suffering because of us. We have 240 abducted Israelis. Some of them are babies, toddlers, women, old people, Holocaust survivors, held in tunnels under the ground right now for...
Okay, pretty much covered that. I'll finish off with prophecy from Stan. Where is it? Hang on. There it is.
Welcome to the Prophecy Club. Our topics today are Israel, the dollar, firearm restrictions, Russia, and China. And I'm going to start with Israel. So this lady says, I served in the IDF 25 years ago in intelligence forces, and that there's no way, in her view, that Israel didn't know what was coming. Something's very wrong. According to Benjamin Fulford, he says that this is all a contrived war to milk more money out of the United States to give it to the Molochs. So, I don't know. I'll pass it along. Developing thousands of pro-Hamas agitators and ultra-Orthodox Jews calling for Israel's destruction. Shut down the Brooklyn Bridge. Now, you remember one of the prophecies that was given to Leslie is that protesters would be complaining because America sent help to Israel. That's one of the things. When we turn our back on Israel, that's the last straw. Okay, and God goes ahead and allows us to be destroyed. Brawl breaks out after Hamas sympathizer viciously assaults pro-Israeli protester trying to stop another scumbag from burning Israel's flag during a pro-Hamas rally at Tulane University. We've seen this on the news. There's been protests all over. I remember one of the angels that spoke to Dmitri said that there would come a time when there would be evidence between the holy and the unholy. Be something that would make it easy to see the difference. Well, is it how we treat Israel? Is it that the Christians are going to back Israel and then the sinners are not? It's going to be interesting to watch. Let me encourage you to go to Joseph Kitchen. As all of these things are coming on us in these last days, this, in my opinion, this is what I call famine food. During the 7 years of plenty, they stored wheat. During the 7 years of famine, they ate wheat. Matter of fact, it was wheat that fed the entire world for 7 years. Joseph Kitchen sells the best kind that is made for making whole wheat bread. And it's become one of the primary things I eat is bread. I have a slice for breakfast and one, here I'm going to be leaving for racquetball as soon as I get done talking today. In another few minutes, and I'll have another slice today. So typically I have 2 slices a day. And so what I recommend you do is go and get a machine package. That's the machines you need to actually make the bread. And then you decide how much food you want, whether it's 6 people a year, 4 people a year, 2 people a year. I actually made that loaf of bread. As a matter of fact, I've now made close to 200 loaves of bread, and I love it. It's excellent, excellent. It is good for you.
Wow.
My cholesterol has come down. My blood pressure has come down, and it's my opinion, it's all because I've been eating bread. So if you take a loaf of bread, you cut it in 14 slices, 2 slices a day, that means...
Diane, we got Mike from around the world on tomorrow afternoon, so hopefully he'll bring up the earthquakes.
About one loaf of bread per person per week, and that means that it's about $10 a week, or just food cost about $500 a year to feed a person in an emergency situation. Takes about 10 minutes to make, 2 hours and 20 minutes to cook. And then when you get done cooking, everybody in the house wants one because it fills the whole house with this wonderful smell. I strongly recommend you go to Joseph Kitchen and get you some of this food. This is famine food, in my opinion. And I'll let you pause and read all about it. That'll tell you more about it. Also, I recommend you go to solarsurge.net and ask Joe, email him, ask Joe to tell you what it would cost for you to get solar for your house. There's all kinds of budgets, all kinds of things that he can help you to do. You guys talk to your budget and see what you can do. Also, I encourage you to go to EMP Shield. And yes, we're going to get back to the program here in just a second. But if you have one of these devices on your house, in your car, when a suitcase nuke or some kind of an EMP blast hits your house, hopefully your car is still going to start. There's some disadvantages in all of it. And one of the things you can also look at is griddown.com. You get a 7% discount if you use Prophecy.
Oh, come on. Stop selling your
Prophecy,
products.
the promo code Prophecy, you get a $50 discount here. Concerning for any soldier on the battlefield is the Captagon.
Oh, hang on. You get into it.
Stimulant. Even many of the dead terrorists were found to still have scores of pills in their pockets. This drug, known as cocaine for the poor, allowed the terrorists to commit such heinous acts with a sense of indifference. At the same time, it kept them highly alert for extended periods, while also acting as an appetite suppressant. In other words, the perfect pill to get someone to go and kill and kill and kill and kill and keep going for about 4 days straight. Captagon has now become a major source of income and is actively reported by Israel's enemy in the north, Hezbollah. So lucrative is this trade. The profits generated from Captagon exceed those of Syria's legitimate exports. In 2020 alone, it is estimated that Captagon reached 3.5 billion. That's a lot. Captagon was first manufactured in 1961 as an alternative to amphetamine and methamphetamine, used at the time to treat narcolepsy, fatigue, and a behavioral disorder, and minimal brain dysfunction. Dextromethorphan, however you say that, was reportedly used in the military of some countries. So here it is. This is the point. Enables soldiers to stay.
I'll actually toast it, and I'll be that drunk. I'll leave it in the toaster, and it'll burn, and it'll probably taste better anyway.
Wait for long periods of time, and to enhance courage and bravado. In other words, makes them a killing machine. However, the version used by ISIS and probably Hamas is far more potent than the Captagon of the 80s. This, quote, new age Captagon affects the brain circuitry of the user, leading to irreversible changes in the brain that govern impulse control, judgment, therefore taking away a person's ability to reason or think rationally. In other words, they're
Zombies.
just a killing machine.
Wow.
How sad is it to think that a legitimate drug used to treat medical
I've never heard of this, Captagon. I've never heard of that at all.
conditions has become known as the drug of jihad. It not only produces soldiers with no fear or conscience, but also funds their activities with billions of dollars from sales. So, not only must Israel fight a kinetic and cyber war, but it also must find ways to stop the drug which fuels and funds these terrorists, since counterfeit versions of the drug are primarily produced in Syria and Lebanon. But although production is primarily centered in those countries, the largest consumers of the drug, Saudi Arabia and other Gulf states like UAE, Qatar, Kuwait, Bahrain, with evidence of drugs making their way to Libya and Sudan. What is most concerning for any soldier on the battlefield is the Captagon can keep an enemy fighter on their feet for days without taking a break. Lebanese psychiatrists explained that after taking Captagon, you're talkative, you don't sleep, you don't eat, you're energetic. Perfect. A perfect battlefield drug. A Syrian police officer recounted his experience when dealing with an anti-government protester. We would beat them, and they wouldn't feel the pain. Many of them would laugh while we were hitting them with heavy blows. We would leave the prisoners for about 48 hours, and then we could finally talk to them. On to the next one. Biden-Macron pushing for 2 states after Gaza war. Israelis and Palestinians equally deserve side by side to live side by side in safety and dignity. So obviously France and the United States are twisting the arm of Israel to give the Palestinians a state. Now, Genesis 12:3, this is God speaking. He's talking to Abraham. I will bless them that bless thee, and I will curse them that curse thee, and thee shall all the families of the earth be blessed. So I've had people send me emails. Are you for Israel or not? Oh, well, let's put it this way. I believe in the King James Bible, and I do my best to read it and follow it. And since the King James Bible says, I will bless the descendants of Abraham, those that bless them, and I will curse them that curse them, that means I'll always stand with Israel. Now notice it does not say, I will bless them that support Israel when Israel's right. In other words, we should support Israel even when they're wrong. Well, wait a minute, that doesn't make sense. No, understand. It's God's responsibility to judge Israel. It's our responsibility to support them. That's the way I look at it. Okay, so let's on to the next one. J.P. Morgan, billionaire Jamie Dimon, will sell 141 million of the bank stock. What is going on? For the last, couple of months, I've had numerous articles on about banks closing their doors. Do you think this J.P. Morgan billionaire, do you think he knows something we don't know? I think he does. I think he is bailing. He's getting his money out of the banking system because he knows the dollar's about to fall. U.S. halts exports of the most civilian firearms for 90 days. Wait a minute. I thought that our ownership to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Well, this is infringing. So it goes on to say the U.S. has stopped issuing export licenses for most civilian firearms and ammunition for 90 days. Okay, well, that's just the start. If they can get it for 90 days, they'll do it from then on, too. And once they get that done, I mean, it's once you let the camel's nose in the tent, the body follows. So it goes on to say for 90 days for all non-governmental users, the Commerce Department said on Friday, citing national security and foreign policy interests. So yeah, it's a form of getting the guns out of our hands. And let me say this also. I don't think that our forefathers wanted us to have guns so we could go deer hunting. I think they wanted them to have guns and they wanted us to have guns so that the evil people in high places would not try to run all over us. When they took the guns away from Australia, of course, as you look in the last pandemic, they ran all over the people and they told the people what they could do and what they couldn't do. See, in America,
Yeah, but in our defense, we haven't had many mass gun shootings.
that's the thing that has kept our freedom. Now, I'm talking about in the physical. We know that there's a spiritual thing too. But in the physical, that's the thing that's kept our freedom, kept the evil people in high places off our necks as long as it has. They get the guns, they'll take anything they want and kill anybody they want. There have been 565 mass shootings in the United States so far this year. I'll read that again. 565 mass shootings, and a mass shooting is
just this year.
4 or more victims are shot and killed. How are they doing that? Well, if you go to DonaldMarshallRevolution.com and you read there, you'll find, and I probably shouldn't say it, I probably should let you go there and read it, but there is a way to take over the body of a person and make them do anything and everything.
Okay, so he gives Donald Marshall credence. That's interesting.
You want them to do. And he describes.
He's a cloning guy, remember?
There. Now, do I know that's true? No, I do not know that's true. I do not have actual proof of it. But it sounds reasonable. Look, but let's put it this way. How they do it is not the main point. It's the fact that somehow, some way, evil people have the ability to get someone to go out and do a head-on collision. I skipped an article where there's another head-on collision. Matter of fact, if you're a good guy, you might get shot. You might be part of a head-on collision. I remember there was one guy that's pretty popular on the internet, and he said that he had someone come to him and say, if you don't shut up, you're going to die, and they will not be able to prove who did it, and you'll be dead. And he says a couple of days later, he said he had a guy on purpose try to run him down, try to kill him. And he said he was able to dodge it. So there was an accident, but it didn't kill him. And he said he saw the guy that was, he said it was an intentional thing. He said he was intentionally trying to kill me with a car. He said, I saw him outside of his car sitting on the curb and he was rubbing his eyes and he didn't even know he'd had an accident. So there's high technology, and it's not just causing our weather. It's not just causing wars. They're using high technology to kill us, my brothers and sisters. Russia says that America will not be at the center of the coming New World Order. How do they know that? Because they know they're going to be at the center of it. You remember that the angel told Dmitry Duduman, the fall of America would start with an internal revolution in America started by the communists. Some of the people would start fighting against the government. The government would be busy with internal problems. Then from the oceans, Russia, Cuba, Nicaragua, Central America, and other countries would attack and defeat America in one day, 1 hour. Then God would raise up China, Japan, and many of the nations. They would go against the Russians and defeat the Russians. Here it is. And they would back the Russians to the gates of Paris where they sign a peace treaty. But they make the Russians their leader. With the Russians as their leader, all the world goes down to attack Israel. Israel can't count on the help of the Jews in America, so she cries for Messiah. Jesus returns in the clouds and defeats the armies of the earth. That's Armageddon. Now, if you go to Ezekiel chapter 38, it's specifically talking about Russia and how Russia will come down and attack Israel. So here it is. Why does Russia know that America is not going to be leading the world? Because Russia knows it's going to be leading the world. People's Voice says Russian citizens told to prepare for incoming nukes as Putin sounds World War III siren. That's right. So they had a nuke day in Russia. They sounded all the sirens. They said, act as if nuclear weapons from the United States are headed your way. Everybody went underground. Everybody got prepared. Everybody made sure that they had their food and the water and prepared to stay underground for a length of time. When's the last time America did that? As a matter of fact, you know, when I was a child, they played this video and they told us when I was in grade school, it's called Duck and Cover. And in those days.
Oh, okay. I didn't know graphene oxide was black matter. Okay. Didn't know that, Vass.
We were making fallout shelters. Go to a movie theater downtown, they had a fallout shelter. There were fallout shelters every place. But today, nobody has a fallout shelter. Some of them have places, you know, under the ground, but I'm talking about as far as an organized way to go underground to survive a nuclear attack. No, America, we don't have that. We should, but we don't. U.S. announces new nuclear weapon 24 times more powerful than the one dropped on Hiroshima. Oh, wow, that's big. No, that's not big, because Putin is saying that he's got one 360 times more powerful than what was dropped on Hiroshima. America's planned new nuclear bomb that's 24 times as powerful as Hiroshima can destroy underground targets, improved accuracy, detonates closer to the ground. Not impressed. Blast radius 3.5 miles. Not impressed. Putin has one probably powerful enough one could drop on the DFW area and it's gone. It's just scorched earth. 360 times more powerful than Hiroshima, and he openly says nobody in the world can shoot it down. It's hypersonic, 28 times the speed of sound. It can slow down. It can go up, down, left, right, change speeds. We don't have anything like that. Putin knows he can take out America anytime he wants to. Sad to say, God has helped him to do that because of our sin. Putin warns that when Russia nukes America, there will be no chance of survival and there will be no single enemy left. In other words, Putin knows he can destroy all the enemies of Russia. Next headline. Leaders at the UN just made a 7-year agreement to implement a single global agenda.
Wow, 7-year agreement. Wow.
Annual line 27, doesn't it? Sounds like world government, if it's not here, if it didn't start on 10/5 of 2022, as Terry Bennett says he was told, it's about to. De-dollarization drive is spreading wider. Indonesia now becomes the latest nation to join the anti-dollar movement.
Wow.
So there's the BRICS, that would be Brazil, Russia, China, Indonesia, South Africa, and 41 other nations. Now I guess 42 that are all going around the dollar, and it goes online January 1 of 2024. So by mid-24.
Okay, so the collapse of the dollar is going to come in February 2024. Wow.
You can expect hard times to be in America. That's the reason you want to go to Joseph Kitchen, get yourself some food. New Pentagon report warns that China could have 1,000 nuclear warheads, missiles that can strike the U.S. by 2030. Would you like to know the truth? My guess is they aren't going to have 1,000 nuclear warheads.
Good night, boss.
My guess is they already have 1,000 nuclear warheads. And if they don't, Russia's probably given them to them. Russia is reported to have like 8,000. America has about 5,000. But, you know, it doesn't make a difference how many you have. What makes a difference is how many of them can be delivered without being stopped. Elon Musk and Neuralink are looking for volunteers to try brain-computer chips. Well, why would they want that? So that no man might buy or sell, save he had the mark of the name of the beast or the number of his name. I remember, I saw this article when I was a kid, I'm going to say 12, 13, 14 years old. There was, a Friday nights I had these scary movies. Well, one was about a UFO that crashed in these people's backyards. And the dad went out to check on it. and he fell into this sand pit, the sand like in a twirling thing, kind of like a world sand pit, sucked him down in the sand pit. And then a couple of hours later, he walked into the front of his house and he's just fine. Has no emotion and he is totally controlled. And his wife notices that right back here on the back of his neck, has been an incision. And that's the whole point of the movie, that people that went out to this crash site disappeared, sunk underground, and then sometime later they appeared and they were fine, except they all had a little insert right here, some kind of a computer chip. Now, that was back when I was a kid. And I remember Lindsey Williams said that the evil elite, they think themselves good sportsmen. And they think it is bad sportsmanship not to tell the unsuspecting public what they're doing. And so could it be, and the way they tell them is through music, through movies, through news, and could it be that this is old technology? Could it be that they've been doing this for 80 years? I'd like to know the truth.
I've got no idea what's in them carts, Angie. It's going to be interesting to see.
I'd like to know the truth on a lot of things. I thought this was real interesting. These two calves were born, one the day before and one on September 25th of 2014, which just happens to be a Shemitah. A Shemitah means 7, like 2 means, or a couple means 2, or a dozen means 12. In Hebrew, Shemitah means 7. And so I believe the prophecy is saying that it started 7 years of plenty, followed by 7 years of famine. 7 years of plenty because the black and white cow has a perfect 7 on his forehead. The red cow has a scribbled 7 on his forehead. What are the chances both those cows are born within 24 hours and released to the public on the same day?
Yeah, that's pretty
I think
coincidental.
it's God saying 7 years of plenty started in 2014 and 7 years of famine started in 2021 and concludes to 2028. That's still in the ballpark. A lot of people think it's the tribulation. Now, that would mean that we are at this point in a famine. So what do? You do what Joseph did. The world lived off of bread. But in all
Okay, I think he's going to sell his products here.
the land of Egypt, there was bread. The people cried to Pharaoh for bread. That's wheat. So the world lived off of wheat for 7 years, and I'm going to recommend you do the same thing. We have had 150 food sources destroyed the last 18 months. No arrests, we've had train derailments, China stopped container ships, threatening to stop all of them, Russia attacked Ukraine, breadbasket. I mean, our food is under attack. Klaus Schwab says you will own nothing but be happy. They're in the process of taking everything we own. This is a loaf of bread I actually cook. I actually cook this.
Okay, guys, I'm out. See you tomorrow. Mike from around the world tomorrow.
And as a matter of fact, I've already had a slice of bread this morning. And I've noticed that as long as I have at least one slice a day, I feel okay. It's best if I have 2 slices, like one for breakfast, one for lunch,